Hello, everyone, and welcome to an EFAP catch-up for Superchat, a mini, if you will, for all of the Andor episodes. So, Season 2, our arc 1, 2, 3, and 4 in one convenient place. We're gonna check out what you guys sent over the course of Season 2 as we covered it, and, well, reply. See what the audience was thinking. What were they saying? Maybe they despised it, and they were like, ugh, how could you guys praise this?
That would make me very sad if that was true.
Well, sadness, it's part of life. But maybe there'll be some gladness.
It is. But
I did learn a lot from some of that criticism. Though those people who said "Andor" and then "bore" was all capitalized, I think they had a really good point.
Yeah,
Ooh,
got him
they
good.
showed us. Yep.
How does anybody respond to that?
Yeah, let's say let's just hang it up there. Shut it down, everyone.
Well, I suppose we will begin with a reference to criticism. They've got Star Wars Theory Andor. Bix, he tried to glup my shitto. This is the conversation about fucking rape, which went on for a long time. And I'll say what I said on the episode. I don't believe anybody who made that statement would actually agree with changing it to like an actual Star Wars word when they see it, you know? They wouldn't write glup my shit, you know what I mean?
Star Wars word for rape.
I think a lot of people say it without realizing what they're saying. I stand by that. Because it's awful.
How can you not? How can you not understand? How do you not recognize?
I think sometimes it might just be a thing of you see it done, and then you'd be like, oh, actually, yeah, no, this is horrible. And it's like, yeah. Not doing that. Because I find the argument that they shouldn't have used the dreaded rape word much more believable. That people genuinely think that's an important move or a better move. But replacing it with a silly Star Wars word, nah, I don't think anyone actually would follow through on that. Maybe a few crazies, but you know, like having Jar Jar say he tried to clap your shitto or something. You'd be like, oh god.
that was a really good Jar Jar impression, by the way. You just like
it was half-hearted. I just couldn't bring myself to even, such an awful thing. But yeah, it was great discourse to engulf all of Andor. I'm very glad Andor broke out of it. Like that's ancient history now. It didn't get stuck in that forever. See, I should be in the dungeon, but Andor EFAP. Every dungeon editor had to come out to see the Andor and then return promptly.
Breaks over.
We are the chat. The galaxy is watching. Yeah, because this would have been... We did Arc 1 by the time Arc 2 had come out. We haven't done 3. Oh, wait. Was it coming out like on the day? I can't remember.
I don't remember. It
was
that.
Close, right?
It was. I think it was Arc 3 had already come out because we.
Oh yeah, because we did
Thunderbolts first.
Yeah, we did 2-2, right? On the weekend.
Yes. So
yeah.
Arc 3 would have already been out.
I guess that worked out. Where is Teal, Fringy? Is he safe? Is he all right?
I'm green.
I guess they're just curious about multiverse you.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible. There could be a red Fringy.
You like those politicians you were talking about who found little ways to sidestep the question.
What? That there's that.
In
incalculable multiverse. There's a variety of different Fringies. That's entirely possible, but I don't know if that's true.
It's just interesting that you started talking all about this red Fringy when they specifically asked about the teal Fringy.
Then you told us what color you were or weren't, as if that was in question.
Well, I was confused. Am I not allowed to get confused, Rags? Is that what you're saying? Jeez. That's an impossible standard to live up to, Rags, and it's one that I'm sure that you can't either.
I've never been confused.
About that. Think about that,
I'm just
Rags.
blissfully confident. Constantly, that's the key.
I don't know about that.
Okay, guys, make sure you think real hard about your criticisms. Maybe a problem you have might not be a problem at all. Just consider it, please. Thank goodness you said this, because every other episode...
yes, I will make sure to never, ever, ever, ever say something that's wrong ever again, ever in my life.
I think
maybe he's talking to chat.
I remember it coming up actually. I think when we were streaming and thinking, God, yeah, I'm so glad I've been reminded, because I was about to say that Andor is basically the worst Star Wars since The Last Jedi because it has a rape scene in it. But then I
like,
remembered that I wasn't supposed to do that, and so I applied my
It's
critical
not rape.
faculties.
It's Bing Bing Wahoo.
Sorry,
okay?
Bing Bing Wahoo scene. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
what is the point of a statement like that?
it's just the implication is that we usually are not like
something
fair.
that you think is wrong might not be wrong. Actually, it's like, oh well, shit. Now that I've considered the possibility that I could be wrong, I guess I'll never say anything ever again. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even sure what's to be said about that.
I think it's just a manifestation of you love the thing and you expect us to be critical, which we were and we are, and that you're like, please don't be, don't do this sort of thing. We're just like, just calm down. It's gonna be fine. We'll all get through this. Okay, we're all gonna talk about it, celebrate parts, criticize parts. We'll all be fine. I assume, considering that is the primary selling point of like EFAP as a whole, is our critical analysis. I thought anyway that you'd probably be here for it as opposed to being afraid of it. So don't you worry. I think it all worked out relatively well. I've seen lots of happy responses to our coverage of Andor, and we were critical. We picked on plenty of parts of it that we weren't happy with. All right. It comes up.
I mean, obviously, it was just broadly very positive, so yeah, calm down.
Actual consequences to being thrown around by a robot. How novel! Fingers crossed. The last three. These are practically spoilers. Ridiculous. We hadn't gotten there yet. Okay, you can't be advancing the chronology
no, this is how it works. If you are on the internet, you essentially agree that you are part of the conversation where it's at right now. With all of the risks that come with that for spoilers.
That's fair. They would have just come off watching the third arc, so they want to express themselves.
Everybody wants to talk about it. Yeah, makes sense.
It's amazing how good Andor is and how bad some takes are from people whose world history knowledge only goes back 5 years to the squirming Puritans. Oh, he's saying like those are two sects of critique that are coming out. I mean, it was a crazy conversation that Andor had. Lots of different people expressing lots of different crazy perspectives about it.
So crazy that it became part of the actual like sort of industry conversation, right? What was that quote? Like, he's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy.
I love that quote. It's one of my favorite industry quotes of all time.
That's a good one. Yeah. The point being that Andor's impact is significant and recognized in the industry as well. To the point that it might actually be detrimental to Dave Filoni's
some people argue detrimental to Star Wars, which is an interesting statement in the sense that what Star Wars currently is Dave Filoni's little pet project. And so, yeah, it is detrimental to that. Like
Andor just proved that it could be like an actual real like thing again, because people have forgotten that Star Wars used to be like a real thing of artistic value.
Made you think.
So like
made
now
you feel.
It's reminded people like, oh shit, Ahsoka isn't like all that it could be. It could actually be a story.
It's really what it is.
It reminded people of what they lost.
I've seen cut through in places where wouldn't necessarily expect to see like Star Wars being mentioned as a reference in conversation. You might read an opinion column or something like that about current events, not naming current events specifically, but talking about some random columns I don't think I'd ever seen reference anything in media before, talking about people who seem to believe that they're living through Andor.
Yes.
Like, that's probably indicative of, like, obviously people will use that to refer to any public event that's happening, but the fact that it is being used as that sort of cultural touchstone for various reasons, good and ill, means it's finally you got Star Wars that says something, Star Wars that does something. I don't know anyone has ever said, "Oh, this reminds me of that time in Ahsoka when the hyperspace whales took the heroes through to the witches and the zombies."
No, yeah, it all gets thrown into the sludge pile, but Andor has stood out significantly to the point where people are comfortably referencing it, like just as that one good Star Wars thing, which fine with me because that's the truth. The more damage it does to Filoni's like fucking kingdom, it's fine with me too. Andor is my Star Wars, and also it is Star Wars. And that was another topic. Is Andor truly Star Wars?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would prefer it be Star Wars than everything else that Disney has made, so Yeah.
The idea that Star
Yeah.
Wars is based on essentially superficial visual elements rather than like important thematic underpinnings is part of the problem. It's part
It
of the
is.
reason why stuff like Ahsoka exists and is getting a second season.
Just a
But then if
healthy,
if
strong
that's what
addition
comes
too.
next, it is very strong addition. But like, if it's not actually going to be the thing that cuts through, let's say Dave Filoni is promoted inexplicably again, and everything Star Wars is from now on is just more Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian crap, then it might be sort of, with reluctance, you have to say, no, okay, I guess Andor isn't Star Wars anymore. It was too good for it, and it's now gone. It's something else. Because like even like discussing the state of Disney Star Wars in the last couple of years, I've tended to forget to class Andor as Star Wars.
Yeah, I get what you
It's like
mean.
all Disney
100%.
Star Wars has been shit. Oh fuck, like yeah, Andor's that exists, but it's so obviously different that
Well,
it's like,
it gets to a point where your brain is like, no, I didn't make any mistake. That's not Disney Star Wars. It's like, no, it is though. And it's like, no, it's not. it's just not. I can't reconcile that. You're like, oh right, yeah, I guess so. But it's how it goes. People were always asking what Ahsoka did during the OT, so we had her save Jyn Erso and Andor from the Will Between Worlds to see them again in Ahsoka season 2. I wonder if I imagine Diego Luna is probably like I want to pursue some other stuff. I'm guessing. I remember reading a quote along the lines of like the notion of him having to play Cassian for 10 years or something wasn't exactly something he wanted to do, but just the idea that if Filoni said we can write it such that Bix and Andor can get back together through the Will Between Worlds, I just wonder what they'd say.
They just say no.
I'd
They'd
hope they'd
probably
say
be like,
no.
"What show is
I
this?
think-
This is Star Wars. This is a Star Wars show."
I think there's too many interviews of the actors like speaking to the integrity of the writing in Andor that they wouldn't want to compromise it in any way. I think they care enough about it.
How must it feel to have nobody on the press circuit for any of Filoni's shows talking about how good the writing is?
Yeah, I mean, what are they gonna have to say about it? What can they say about how great the writing was for Sabine and Andor, like not Andor, Ahsoka, and how compelling that journey was?
you get the
She
Or the
can use the
Green
Force by
Lady.
the end, so that's the.
That's right, yeah.
everyone can. It's just a muscle to be trained. But it's like
That's right. Everybody.
it
can
is like
use the
that really
Force.
great juxtaposition though when you compare. There's it Tamira Morrison on the set of Book of Boba Fett and those interviews saying I had these ideas because I thought it was going wrong and I knew what the character was going to be and I tried to get hold of Jon Favreau to tell him what the character should do, but he was in LA so I couldn't speak to him. Versus who was it on Andor who said like
Rodriguez was
yeah.
the guy who directed it all.
But they, then when it comes to Andor, it's like, would you like to add this part to the speech, character actor? No, Mr. Gilroy. I think we want you to do that.
Yeah,
It's just a very different approach.
yeah. Mom, Genevieve O'Reilly saying that.
That was it.
It just the notion that she could write the speech is like, no, you do it. It's like, okay. Point is, it's amazing how stupid people can be. Well, I mean, it's kind of the core of what I hope we achieve with our show. Is you could argue it's just the bias people will have. Everyone's got one usually, and it's just trying to get rid of it, right? So, like in this case, what could account for a lot of Andor? I could even rank it as like a mistrust, is because of what Disney has done. I've been on several shows talking about it, and it's undeniable. Andor would have been way better received had Disney not slaughtered this IP again and again and again. That's just true. So a lot of people aren't ready for it to be good in a way, and that's just how humans work, I guess.
That's fine. It's just don't make bad or false arguments.
Yeah.
In order to make that case.
At that point, you got to work on, I guess, yourself, right? Try and argue yourself into the grittier, drilled down parts of what you're trying to say, and see if it actually passes muster. Because we weren't super hype on the first arc. All of us, I presume.
It was definitely
season?
it was. I mean, it was still good, but it was clearly I think the weakest of the three,
It's the
Yeah.
weakest
especially in
of them
hindsight.
all.
Yeah. But
Was
I had doubts. I had some doubts that crept in, being like, okay.
Hmm.
I mean, this is still good. There's still good stuff in here, but I feel like
Something to bear in mind though, because I will say I was quite concerned after that first arc, and I think it was in conjunction with dude. Everything's been so awful lately. Like, this can't be another one.
Yeah, and
it can't be another disappointment. Like, I can't bear it.
it does sometimes feel like life is a story, and it's like, oh, are we doing a hardcore tragedy right now where everything just gets ruined? Is that what we're doing? It's like, no. You're like, oh, thank fuck. Close one.
Yeah.
I love the small details hinting at Rogue One, like Galen Erso working on the Death Star, Rebellions built on Hope Line, or Nemec's Manifesto. I love this show. I think this goes the same for God of War, the Norse era. I think the more sparing, careful, and meaningful you are with any given... I hesitate to call them key jangles, but you know what I mean. References to things that aren't...
kind of connections, sort of.
They mean so much more when you're careful about how you use them and you sort of drip feed it. You know, seeing Krennic at all, people were like, "Oh yeah, woo!" But it's like, dude, Krennic is fucking great in Andor.
Yeah, Krennic's an awesome character. His I get his presence per minute in terms of screen time is pretty incredible in that show.
Well,
because he's in for not much at all.
The really cool thing with Andor that I say this as though it shouldn't be the standard for every fucking show that's ever existed, but start up a scene, Krennic is going to somewhat interrogate Dedra, and you're like, oh shit, okay. Turns out to be one of the best Krennic scenes there even are, and it's just like, oh cool. You know what I mean? It's like it could be done pragmatically, like we just need to get some information to the audience about XYZ, but it's an extremely entertaining, engaging scene that achieves multiple things at once, and I love the fact that he was the one that wanted to do that finger point thing when it's so effective for so many reasons. I love the artwork. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's like artwork of you know, she's pointing down on Cyril, Krennic's pointing down on her, and then Tarkin is pointing down on Krennic, and it's kind of how it all goes.
Oh, neat. Okay.
He kind of does disrespect rebels by changing Mon Mothma's speech.
Good.
He left them the room. He gave them the second speech thingy. You know, like...
And he wrote an explanation that Filoni couldn't have thought of if he was in the same situation. So, yeah.
It's a weird thing because, let's be honest, if we were given the reins to fucking episodes 10, 11, 12, which would never fucking happen, but if we were, would anybody really give us that much shit for completely contradicting canon from 7, 8, 9? Like, probably not. But, you know, I would still probably want to try and... I actually think that healing a franchise works better if you can do more incorporating than retconning. Though I would probably retcon a whole bunch of stuff if I could. Point being, it depends on just how much you give a shit about Rebels, I suppose, as to whether or not you consider that super disrespectful. But, like I said, he still incorporated it. There's comments about how they did that. The thing they stepped all over was the comic, the K2SO comic origin thing, which he's been on record saying he was pissed off that someone wrote the origin for K2SO, you know, and that he wanted to do it, which is a whole conversation in and of itself, I suppose. But if you are joining a universe, you should probably expect that at any moment people can kind of do anything they want with a lot of the stuff that you made.
And that is always how
Yeah,
the comics traditionally stood in like relative to continuity anyway. Like even in the George Lucas era, the comics and the games and stuff, there was the whole, you know, G tier and then the gold tier and then the next tier. Like comics were, I think, probably, I don't know this for a fact, I wouldn't be surprised if quite a lot of them were like overwritten for the prequels, for example. They just were never held to the same standard of truth and accuracy as everything else was.
What's a really interesting aspect of continuity for Star Wars, I find, and this has been brought up about Clone Wars to the prequels, but there's just stuff that exists that can't coexist exactly. Take, for example, novelizations of any given movie. They might have way more insight into like certain character decisions or whatever, but they might simultaneously say that something happened where it's like, well, but that didn't happen, so now this can't exist. Like we have to choose one.
True novel is, yeah, especially when it comes to like dialogue and little things that happens when you're recreating the scene in the book. Because if you just kind of describe the scenes of the movie in book form, then it would be probably it wouldn't be a very big book. There's a lot of stuff you can do. The sheer amount of volume of actions and dialogue you can have in a book is such that that's just gonna happen.
Nobody who worked on A New Hope up through 77 was a Star Wars fan, and it's sad people are so neurotic about Gilroy's personal, not professional opinions. Dude, you should be very happy that this has all happened because it's going to help arguments in the future. Gilroy's created some of the best Star Wars we've had in forever, and he has been on record saying he wasn't really a Star Wars fan. This is like proof positive that being a fan of the thing is not necessary. It's about respecting it.
Yep. I mean, conversely, right? A guy who is seemingly a huge Star Wars fan, if only from the amount of stuff that he's made and the amount of stuff that he's consumed, has made a lot of really bad Star Wars stories that don't even integrate well into the Star Wars universe. Like, let's get real, guys. The Clone Wars can't really be canon. It can't be. Not with the prequels or the OT, with the some of the shit that happens in that show. The fact that Ahsoka even exists is kind of hard to reconcile. I say kind of, it's basically impossible. Never gets mentioned in the
Oh, yeah.
prequels, but apparently hyper significant to Anakin throughout his entire life, including as a Force ghost.
Ugh.
A
I
Force
really hate
ghost.
that he turns up to her as a Force ghost, but not his son. That's so fucked up.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
exactly.
Well,
That's what I mean. It's like, how can you square?
she
How
was
can you
important
square
to him.
away that before Episode 3 happened, they went to a planet where like Anakin got shown all the stuff that would happen in Episode 3 and went evil, and then they all got their memories forgotten. How do you like reconcile that Obi-Wan faked his death very convincingly to Anakin, and then underwent like extensive surgery to pretend to be some bounty hunter dude as part of like a thing that was going to potentially assassinate Palpatine? Like, none of this shit is canon, obviously. Meanwhile, Andor just slots in very well.
Speaking of aesthetic, it bugs me how many screens there are and how few holograms. That's the one part of the OT world design they're breaking. It is surprising that they didn't use many holograms.
Mm.
A lot of screen back and forth for communication. I'd be curious, because that seems very deliberate. I'm assuming they've got a reason for that.
Yeah, it might just be where they wanted to lean really heavy into the more analog 70s kind of aesthetic. So they just decided to have that way more than the holograms.
I
At
mean,
least
the
that would
point
be
of it
my
is to
guess.
evoke the era, sure, but it's more so to evoke what the OT had, right, which was a result of its era, but it was still using the holograms for communication. I'm wondering if there would be a reason, like they wanted the actors to see each other or something like that.
Potentially, yeah. Or they
Oh.
wanted to have maybe scenes where you just had an actor by themselves acting their reactions to somebody instead of feeling like if there was a hologram, you had more of a reason to show the hologram and the person, the real person conversing with them.
Considering
Maybe that was
just how much they did use, they probably must have been a deliberate decision behind it. And like I said, I'd be curious to know what it is. But would have been nice to see some holograms for sure to make it match up. Or Rags, he's at the vet after eating chocolate. Unavailable for the first 2 arcs, but you did jump in on the last 2. Of course.
I read. Now, of course, I avoid it just because. But I heard that a dog can have about an ounce of chocolate for every pound that the dog is and be okay. However, because so many dogs are small, where not eating a lot of chocolate, especially if it's like a chocolate bar or something in your pocket or your purse or whatnot, or off the kitchen counter, it will kill the dog. That they've just really put out there the blanket rule of, it's really bad for dogs. It's super toxic. Do not give your dog chocolate ever.
That's probably the safe way to go, isn't it? Like, just
Yeah. Which I think that's totally
Yeah.
fair, But
Don't even tell people like, yeah, no, there's a certain amount that can be consumed. It's like, no, don't
just
fuck around with
don't,
that
just
shit.
don't do it. Yeah, just don't do
Or
it.
cats. I believe cats also cannot eat chocolate either. That it's very toxic to them too.
I didn't know that about cats.
I think it's there's a number of like common human things that are bad for cats. I can't remember the full list, but I think
skydiving.
chocolate is on that list. What, skydiving? Yeah, I don't know if a cat would have much fun with that.
Hmm.
You see pictures of people like skydiving with dogs, with their pet, and they jump out. One does wonder what. That's another scenario where I do wonder, like, what's going through the mind of the animal during
Yeah.
this. It's like a more extreme version of like what is the dog thinking when it's looking at the TV and the TV's just like playing a show or a movie? How does the animal, like, in its brain, really its primitive brain, sort of rationalize that, if it even does, or even
Presumably,
I
they
guess.
think it's a pretty complicated window because dogs do, react, like bark at dogs on screen. So they might like.
Well,
Yeah.
it's similar with you know, a cat looking in a mirror, because cats can't recognize themselves in the mirror, as I understand it, which means that from their perspective, that'd just be another cat.
Yeah. Chandrilla Cinderella. Only it was as friendly a story as that, you know. I've been listening to the EFAP playlist in order, and whenever Boogie gets mentioned in the earlier episodes, it's like being an NPC in Majora's Mask and suddenly being reminded of the moon. Yeah, he's out there. Be careful.
Mhm.
He could get you at any time. Where is Ryan? Is he secret? Is he safe? He's. I think the way it worked was he came in a little late on the first episode of the weekend, and then had to leave a little early on the second one. So both weekends. So he'll be here eventually. Not here, but there in the past. Unknown Planet mentioned Acolyte was the blueprint. I saw a
God, that show
small
exists.
uptick in Acolyte
What,
appreciation
people trying to
posts.
astroturf that
I will,
Acolyte
yeah,
was
I'll
actually
never
really
believe it's
popular.
genuine. I'll just be like, yeah, nice
Yeah.
try.
But we all know the ratings would like not
Well,
there. They didn't
they'll say
exist.
like, oh, it sucks that Lucasfilm listened to the chuds. And it's like, no, they didn't. They just looked at the ratings. It was that
Yeah, nobody
simple.
was watching it. And also, God, that show was painful.
It was
that was really
horrifically negative
annoying,
to
terrible
the
show.
Star Wars brand.
Well, it
in
might be the
terms of
worst Star Wars content. It's
reputation.
in the competition.
I will say, I felt a little bit better when I
Oh.
saw a lot of people making fun of the lightsaber turning red. And when I say a lot, I mean way more like engagement than anybody pretending that they like the show.
Yeah.
That was like getting hundreds of thousands of likes pointing out that that's not the way that lightsabers work.
It was just so fucking embarrassing, and then only made worse after the fact when you're told that that's symbolic of looking inside a penis or whatever it was that she said. It was just absolute madness from start to finish.
Cassian's strength is he's legitimately a good spy. The fact that he's just some guy is how he can slip in and out so frequently without getting caught. IRL spies are like Cassian, not James Bond. Oh, well, sure, but like, James Bond's not supposed to be a perfect representation of a real spy. He's like a fantastical sort of super spy, right? Like, it's arguably supposed to be a bit more exaggerated. But on the point of Cassian, certainly after his first visit to Gorman, there was such a big feeling of like, fuck, man, I would have loved to have seen loads of missions like this, seeing him get to have to do loads of different characters and have to use all kinds of suave spy-like shit. The big one that started to impress me, as we talked about, was when he was so shocked at how shit the Gorman Rebellion were in terms of their operation. It was really entertaining to
even
watch
for the
that as a
first
comparison.
meeting. Yeah.
It's just watching him become a veteran spy when, obviously, Season 1's all about him just being like, I'm just a tourist, leave me alone.
It's what we would have got if we got all those seasons.
Yeah, you know, it's all right, we'll survive.
I'm glad we got what we got, but
Yes.
it's the show's fault that I'm wanting more. I'm blameless.
Yeah, how dare you be good, you bastards. Also, hi, Ryan and Rags.
Hello.
I love Andor. I wish all Star Wars content was treated with as much care and respect as this show. Yeah, well, you know.
Me too, man. Me too.
Mon stuff should be its own set of episodes. Trust the audience to not die inside. Then set Andor stuff as its own thing. Make them all 30 minutes. You could do that. Get all of the Chandrilla stuff done in its own episode, sort of thing, and then because we can move things around. Because this is when we were talking about like how we would have solved the problem of the first arc not being up to snuff with the others. But I would probably opt to, as we discussed, sort of combine 1, 2, 3 with 4, 5, 6 and cut a lot of 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Because you'd probably have even more, if you did separate out the Chandrilla stuff, I think you'd probably even have more of a problem, because if people were already struggling to see the point of those scenes, even as they were enmeshed with scenes which proved they had a point, I think separating them would make that harder to discern for the people who were already struggling to interpret what they were about. So
Yeah,
yeah.
It's an option, but it's not what I would opt for. And then any way to get us 3 extra episodes to shove between probably, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12. So we get I want more K2, please, as well as more Partagaz, more destruction of the ISB, more. It's all wonderful. I need more. But change the rebel plotline to a whole plot about stealing the fighter instead, but that the leader dies and the rebels keep falling out. Forcing Andor to take it into his own hands would make it much better. I would have way preferred that kind of storyline where during a mission they even reach conflict with these sorts of rebels and their leader dies, and then Andor has to find a way to basically like bring them together. And
Yeah, it would have.
through a greater foe, that would be totally fine. It doesn't have to be the Empire. It can be something allegorical, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could revisit those local sort of like contracted security forces that were, a big part of the first arc of season 1. You could use it to sort of symbolize how you have like the groundwork for the rebellion is there in all these little groups, but they're so disparate and split up and compartmentalized and inexperienced that you need the Cassians and the Luthans to kind of pull it together and to see that over time. Like we had all these seasons, we could have met a group of wannabe rebels in season 2 or 3, and then by season 4 or 5 potentially they're like they have their shit together, and it would have been really cool to see that over time. But at this point, we're just lamenting over the show that could have been.
Yeah.
But at least we can do that.
First time in forever.
Feels like it.
Criticism of the hour.
Here we go.
You're costing yourself 6 spaces when you do that, just because he has the colon as well. Just let it out. Give yourself an extra word. The cut down on the Mon Mothma scenes is to cut down on great content. You'd ruin the pacing by doing. No, you wouldn't. You absolutely would not ruin the pacing. And you can always have. You can easily have great content that needs to be cut. That's very possible. It's just a matter of what information's achieved and what.
Unless the claim is that it is absolutely 100% perfect and there is absolutely no way that it could be improved in any way whatsoever. If that's the case that's being made, I guess you could do that, but that's rare even among the greatest stories of all time.
Well, they've said cut the rebel scenes instead. It's like, we're definitely cutting those, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely cutting the rebel scenes, yes.
But there's space to cut on the Mon Mothma stuff as well. Like, I believe I specifically highlighted a whole superfluous scene with Claire going into the shop that you just didn't need it. That was what, like a minute we just didn't need.
Yeah, her going to the machine, yeah.
When we have such limited time for this being the only additional season of Andor, that time is precious.
Really is.
Someone could be like, well, but it's great. It's like, it's great in the, it looks fantastic. I like the buttons pressing, the lights coming on, the cinematography, looking at the gallery and looking at the machine. It's like, yeah, sure, I can enjoy all of that, but I don't think that's worth it considering the best scenes have all of that, plus story, plus character, plus plot, plus themes, anything. It just seems like an obviously superfluous element, and so why not cut that along with some other bits and bobs that, let's be honest, I think that things could have been achieved a little bit faster in the Mothma plotline, even though I would happily admit, as along with I think the rest of us here, that it's the best stuff in Arc 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would agree, yeah.
Am I the only one that doesn't find Take-Homer's request for compensation ridiculous? I don't think it is ridiculous. That's part of the whole thing, it's how he asks it and what it's going to mean for the future, right? Luthen's already anticipated that he's going to talk to Skulden, which leaves them open for compromise, and which they cannot entertain. And it's like, well, but and I think the unfortunate thing is and I think the show does this on purpose, the way that you would bring it up is, I'm so impressed and happy that like all this money has managed to make such a huge difference, but I'm running out. I'm not sure what to do. That's one version. The other version is, I didn't realize this rebellion was going to cost me so much. It's kind of like
like you're in this like for a financial investment kind of reason.
Well, there's that, but there's also just
somewhere else, and
loyalty does not seem like it's secure with something like that. And then to have him talk to Skulden about problems he's having, it's like, oh fuck, we need to get rid of him like fast. And you could be like, that's a bit harsh. And it's like, well, yeah,
the stakes are super high.
Yeah.
And the harshness is important because it's not everyone who gets involved in these grand rebellions and conspiracies does it because they're dyed-in-the-wool ideologues who believe in what they're doing. Like loads of them, if not the majority of them, get in for small-scale personal reasons. They are quite often completely oblivious to what they're really involved in. And it's supposed to come across as a bit tragic that a guy who's ever like he's not an evil person. He's not trying to fuck them over because of what he knows. He could do that if that's what he wanted to do. But the fact that he has to die based on a small financial loss in a cause he never understood is supposed to be read as deeply unfair in a sense. It's not a good thing that it has to happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially because so much of this is through, Mothma's perspective. She's not happy about this. It's very
Well,
clear.
and that's how nice for you, isn't it? Luthen has to do it again.
Yeah.
He has to do the dirty work. I wish Andor had mowed down the rebels as he left. Fair.
Yes.
That's very fair. I guess we didn't see them again, though, so there's that.
No, we didn't.
A Republic credit for the Andor meter. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, thanks, man.
What if Bix just had a gun, like she should have, like the other rebel guys have on them? We were really worried about one platoon of guys. Or I think they do account for that. Doesn't she, like, put a gun... She puts it down somewhere, and then she can't get at it when he's in the room? I think... I'd have to rewatch it, but I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, they've tried to account for the fact that she probably would have had a gun. I could have sworn she puts it on a table or something temporarily and then can't get to it. Could be wrong, though. Farewell and adieu to you fair Fleemish massives. Farewell and adieu to you massives of Fleem.
Oh, well, farewell to you.
Hey Fringold, what was it that you didn't like about Second Son? I remember enjoying the gameplay, easy platinum, don't remember the story much, lol.
Don't like the story. I thought it was bad. And then you kind of have the overall problem that it's a continuation that doesn't really. The ending of Infamous 2, whether it's the good one or the bad one, they went with the good one, is pretty definitive. It's pretty concrete, not only in terms of concluding the story that was set up, but also kind of making laying down essentially some rules for like what was going to be going forward in that world. And as far as I'm concerned, like Second Son basically just outright contradicts it on that front. I haven't played it in a long time, so I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure like the existence of conduits, let alone a good number of them, is like just actually impossible, basically, based on the ending of Infamous 2. Yeah, that's the main one. Gameplay's good. I remember it being good, but I liked Infamous for more than just having good gameplay. I like the story of Infamous, and it was just kind of notably less interesting, notably less impactful. So I don't hate it. I was just disappointed with it, particularly because I bought my PlayStation 4 specifically to play that. I mean, obviously I was going to play other games later, but I bought it relatively early in the console's lifespan to play that game. And then I play and it's like, yeah.
Cyril looks like Jimmy Carr to me. Yeah.
A little bit.
A little
I can see
archetype.
it. I could see it. Yeah, I
little
could
bit.
kind of see it.
The canon ending in Infamous 2 is a tearjerker. What did you think of it, Mr. Fring?
I really like it. I really like it a lot. I mean, not that it's even unusual, but I would say that since most games, the good ending is usually the one that actually is the most coherent. Typically bad endings don't tend to fit quite so well with a lot of the actions that you undertake because you have to end up doing a lot of heroic things anyway, usually in like main missions. But yeah, in Infamous, I consider like the bad storyline to kind of just not be that worthwhile to talk about. Even though I think that there's a degree to which like the ending for that's kind of cool in terms of it being a sort of a full circle, but in a kind of twisted way that you weren't expecting. But yeah, the good storyline for Infamous, I think, is just way more potent, particularly with the sort of the exploration of these like what does it take to be a hero, and maybe it's not actually that. Particularly in the first game, the question of like how rewarding even is it personally to be a hero? Like, in fact, the outcomes might be really bad for you for doing this, to the point that you eventually might be in a position where you're not even appreciated for all of the good things that you do. It's like pretty cool and bold, honestly. I really like the Infamous games, specifically 1 and 2. And if I had to pick one, specifically the first one, I really like the first Infamous.
In Walker Mon Mothma equals Ahsoka. True.
Oh yeah. Luckily, I'll never rewatch Ahsoka ever, so I won't have to actually see that. But yeah, I can see what you mean. C-3PO was in that too.
Yes,
Yes,
he
he was.
was. What a great cameo. Besides it not being Star Wars, I've heard good things about Season 2, but haven't seen it, so I'll catch this later. Hopefully you dumbos catch DDLC later.
We just might. Maybe we did.
Are you all looking forward to the upcoming Gollum-like Star of War Jar Jar? I'd play that.
I would
Yeah.
play the Star of War
That's
Jar
it.
Jar. I would imagine.
It has to be a
Well, what
platformer,
would
right? Because he's a good jumper.
I would imagine so. That's what I'm thinking, a platformer. But then it covers. It's still a platformer, but it doesn't just cover Episode 1. It covers his time in the Senate, but it's still a goofy platformer.
He jumps all
So he
around
has
the
to
room.
go. Yeah, he has to jump around the room, and he gets tasked to do little tasks to do that are like of incredible political importance. Like, oh, he's got to go get his briefcase so that he could start the Grand Army of the Republic or whatever that will ultimately begin in the rise of the Empire. And he's just woohoo, and he's jumping around like Mario on the inside and outside of buildings, going past people, and then he gets the briefcase at the end. And it's like, yeah, we did it. We're gonna save the whatever it is.
An awesome game, yeah.
But it's like a political drama, yeah.
No mother's love equals better than two mothers' love.
I'd rather have two mothers' love than no mother's love, if it
Yeah.
was me. That
Seems
just
like the
seems
better
better,
option.
right?
Two people die in Andor, and the whole show is formed. Two pilots die due to Hera's actions in Ahsoka, and the stupid trial only leads to C-3PO cameo.
Oh
Spoiler.
yeah, that's
Oh,
right. When
God,
they
yeah.
hyperspace and
Yeah.
planes crashed into each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Because no
Wild.
one
They don't
gives a
have
shit. We didn't
names,
know
so
their
it's
names.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were saying the same thing. Yeah, they don't have names. Fuck them. They even knew to give a name to Wade.
They did.
Wade.
That's right. Even Obi-Wan.
I haven't gotten
Kenobi
over
knew
that. Wade.
Yeah.
Probably never will.
Dude, imagine, like, they're talking about the death of Cyril or something in some meeting in Lucasfilm, and then Filoni's like, yeah, what about Wade? Like, isn't that crazy that Wade died like that? Wow. So meaningful. Genuinely such a shame. Tony Gilroy will no doubt be seen as a failure by Disney. Honestly, I wish he was given everything. You got nothing to worry about there. Even if Andor Season 2 made zero money or subscriptions or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the critical reception has been through the fucking roof.
Yeah, no, they're happy with this because it's like the only Star Wars show that's actually genuinely well regarded, which means they might get some awards, which does matter to studios.
Yeah.
My assumption isn't that Disney won't like Gilroy, it's Gilroy won't like Disney.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to
But-
do more with them, I'd imagine.
When, particularly at this point, he's probably getting some incredible offers from everybody else.
His reputation is very much secured at this point, and it's only going to get more interesting, I would say. Even possibly by the time you're listening to this, maybe we will have seen more examples of Filoni just getting fucking fried online thanks to everyone comparing his work now. Because you can
Well,
get...
yeah, because you had
Yeah,
people
once the
doing
next
thing
thing
of,
comes out.
all of this can coexist. Ahsoka can I mean, it can't. Zombie stormtroopers in the same world as Andor,
magical
like, get
zombie
real.
stormtroopers.
Yeah, like that can't
Yeah,
exist.
these aren't
So
even
someone might say,
secular zombies.
what about Yoda?
From
It's like, no,
science.
Yoda can coexist with Andor for sure. Like the OT and Andor, I don't feel that there's any dramatic clash there
No.
compared to, again, magical zombie stormtroopers and hyperspace whales. That is really hard to reconcile with something that is essentially as good as Andor, because all of that is so plainly ridiculous and silly.
I mean, it's just childish magic fantasy nonsense with a vaguely sci-fi gloss
Well, and it-
painted over it.
It almost exists to exist. It's not like really meaningful content, which, by the way, is what like passing grade for a lot of stuff in Star Wars will be, is to have a meaningful connection to what normally out of context would be considered ridiculous. Like Yoda as a puppet. It's like, what is that? Why is this here? And then when you have it in context, there is no question like that. Yoda's completely accepted and one of the favorite characters, you know? Yeah, Andor was perfectly capable of pulling that off. I think there was even statements about how the notion of having more alien characters, something like they just didn't end up having the opportunities or something. or like the ones that they wanted to put them in. But what I will say in like defense of Andor for the alien characters is that, as we saw with certain examples, they weren't afraid to create the actual
Oh
physical
yeah, some of them
creatures
look
and put
damn
them in
good.
scenes. So it's just like, if only we could have gotten a main character that was an alien. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I want to see that Wampa guy in Sol Guerrero have his own story. He should have had his own episode. It would have been great. In our 5-season Andor fantasy, he would have. But yeah, Tony Gilroy will be absolutely fine. Disney will not see him as a failure at this point. I even said, like, you could describe Andor as a loss leader in the sense that it just makes Star Wars look better, even if it's costing them
I
money.
believe that too, 100%. This is the desperate boost to the reputation of Star Wars that it really, really needs.
Well,
Because
and
it's been, the damage has been incredible over the past,
when you're following
X
up
years.
TLJ, Solo, and TFA with your own little Star Wars show, which hasn't even been done before, squeezing out the cool factor of The Mandalorian with even an episode that has even a whiff of competence to it, I think you're just going to be fine. Then you spend your tickets on getting like Luke cameos and fucking R2D2 and whoever else, right? Like Bo-Katan. And then I think still you can survive if Rise of Skywalker is the bar for the films. Still kind of like, yeah. But what the fuck are you going to do bringing out garbage like that after Andor? How could he possibly survive? You know, Ahsoka season 2. I'm jumping the gun here in assuming it would be bad. How could I possibly think that? But there's a lot of pressure on him right now. I'd be curious to ask him about that, even though I'm pretty sure he'd be like, "What do you mean? Everyone's writing great stuff. That's what's happening."
Oh yeah, that's what'll be said. But you're
Filoni's
right. We
probably the
will
one
see when the
sitting
next
there.
thing comes out.
He's like furiously typing on Twitter under all his burner accounts. Andor isn't Star Wars. He's the one.
Ahsoka lover 64. Tano fan.
Every time someone
98.
complains about Ahsoka, he will add a minute of screen time for her.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, gave her own show. Of course he did. That's not even remotely like surprising. I'm just waiting for the time where they retcon her into all events, because it is awkward that she ignored all of the OT and the prequels. Kind of weird, isn't it? Kind of doesn't make sense.
Should have thought about that before you invented this character, I guess.
Don't worry.
Didn't Filoni say like she's earned the right to be considered amongst like the top tip
No.
and the Star Wars characters? She hasn't, but I understand that's what Filoni
That's-
really wants to be the case.
Yeah, well, absolutely he wants it to be. She's the most important character in the universe as it's being created now, which is fucking annoying. She's just not interesting enough. I mean, that's the big thing that hit me about Ahsoka season 1. How boring she is.
If I was gonna make my OCs would be way more interesting than Ahsoka.
I'm sure that's how
I just have a lot more passion for this opportunity. I wouldn't want to squander it. I want to
thing
make
is,
this OC as cool
what's
as possible.
interesting as an OC to him is that, like, Ahsoka season 2, she'll get her own bounty hunter jetpack, and you'll be like, right, of course. You know, like Rey collecting all of the memorabilia of like Star Wars shit. It's just like that's what I expect him to do with Ahsoka, because that's just. I'm sorry, but that's what the like misguided fan does.
Rey is a fan of Star Wars.
Well, that was
Sometimes I
JJ's
hear
thing,
that.
but even for Filoni, like, doesn't even have to consider that, because that's just what he does automatically. He's like, to have a good Star Wars story is to go through all of your favorite events and locations and just have little like toys, collecting, you know, famous person's lightsaber, famous person's blaster, famous person's ship, doing all those sorts of things. And the thing is,
Aliens, Colonial Marines, yeah.
Yeah, and he gets to have anything he wants, really. And you have Hayden Christensen right there waiting to go. And my God, he's probably going to be a main character in season 2, isn't he? Running around.
I mean, if you wanted to, if you were looking at the reception to that one episode in particular, yeah, you'd want to cram him in, and then the flashback of the.
That's the one thing I kind of hope
training.
about all of this, is that despite the fact that did have good reception, and put a million asterisks after that, I hope that Disney could tell the difference at least, or at least some people at Lucasfilm, like the shallow positive reception versus like substantive, where it's constantly being discussed about its writing characters as opposed to he Vaded, you know?
Yeah.
He did Vader. True.
Oh boy.
He tried to bypass her compressor. Oh my goodness. Tried to dank Farrick me. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think any of these would
no.
work. Stuckman tried to Schlippo me. Misa
Oh my
Mega
goodness.
Meat is a key to all of this. Wait, Jar Jar the Keymaster Binks. When was this a thing?
The Keymaster?
I guess I'm not against him being considered the Keymaster. That could be fun, yeah. But fair enough. Revenge of the
Many
Sith.
Thors, any?
Revenge of the Sith was a very dark film at the time for the series. It was the first and formerly only PG-13 rated film in the series. Yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of people have always referred to as that is the dark one out of the 3 prequels. Because Empire would be the dark one out of the 3 OTs, right?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Had the potential to have even more emotion if they added more weight to their deaths. Could have had the whole basement exterminated on Gorman too. The whole basement? Oh,
I guess their secret lair for the...
I don't think that's needed at all. They had a really, for lack of a better way of saying it, a really good massacre, storytelling-wise. It was very effective, lots of really great performances, loads of death.
It made the Empire look very evil.
You don't need to take out, like, I prefer to think that a lot of them scattered and made it out of Gorman, right, and then they joined the rebellion. They have their own stories
I
to
feel
tell.
like that was an aspect of what they were going for. They purposefully, left them, or some of them alive, sending messages and knowing that with this having happened, they will then go forward, and that'll be a reason why they become part of a larger resistance.
It's fair for Bix to feel overwhelmed. She was almost glorped after all. There's no...
It's almost glorped, Mahler.
Get Rags to tell the story about the threesome he got invited to while delivering a pizza. My mate doesn't believe it.
Oh yeah, that's right. This was when I was working at the hotel. Yeah. So it was the Peabody at the time, and because of the in a lot of jobs you shouldn't allow them to do this because they're trying to take advantage of you, but in the Peabody there was a lot of like different departments would help each other out. People had been there for a long time. It was a really cool place to work. We really enjoyed being there. I was a valet, and sometimes I would do some concierge work. Sometimes I'd help the bellhops to bring stuff up and down. Sometimes you just do stuff around if things needed help, right? And in turn, if sometimes people would help us if we were really, really busy. I was working a late shift or a later shift, and I was just there late helping people out because I was super busy. And someone said, "Hey, can you bring this up to?" Someone was like, you need to take." It wasn't a pizza. I don't think it wasn't a pizza. It was like wine or something. Someone from a room had ordered something like that from room service, but room service was slammed, and they had asked if I could help. So I was like, yeah, sure. And so I brought it up. I think it was a bottle of wine, and there was a lady who answered the door, and she was clad in, like, you could call it not so much clothing as much as it is like decoration, I guess you could say. She had like some little panties on, and she had like those bras, but like it's got the mesh on the front where you could just see the boobies through it. Um, completely shameless. She was just standing there like there was nothing unusual about this at all. And I mean, I'm a pretty handsome young guy. And so I forget the words that were used, but it was implied that she wanted me to, it's like, hey, what are you doing? You still doing a thing? When you to come in and join her and whoever else it was. The other person was on the bed and you could just see his legs because he was laying on the bed and it was a hotel room. But I politely declined and went on my way. But that was a cool little thing that happened, I guess. Strange little thing that happened.
All right, yeah.
A lot of crazy stories working at that hotel, especially when you work late at night. It was fun though. It was fun though. A lot of neat stories.
In the is the EFAP audio archives Twitter just some Alana Piercing guy? Every time I see them, they seem to be trying to start beef with some random EFAPper. Well, so the EFAP audio, I don't know if it's guy or guys or people, whatever, but None of them are us. I just never got to the point of making audio only versions of EFAP. Got a little bit too out of control, so that account is not connected to any of us.
No.
I think they've even put out a tweet recently clarifying that. So
I think so, yeah. Because I guess people were wondering or asking, and it is like it's a verification used to mean something, but
not anymore.
it is like a verified account, and it does have the every frame of pause thing, and I think it's called every frame of pause or EFAP audio. That's what pops up as the name, so it's good to have that clarification.
Ryan goes to show how you do proper criticism. While I don't agree with everything he said, I can understand it. Glad he's kept his opinions on the wokeisms quiet, unlike the rest of his crowd. Ryan's the last person you're going to want to pick for doesn't say the things that he wants to say. He was as preferably aggressive or opinionated as he wanted to be on EFAP. He's totally welcome here. So
Yeah,
but
we wouldn't want to change that about him. Yeah,
no,
we
I
like him
really
the way he
enjoy
is.
talking
Yeah.
Star Wars with him, whether or not it's good shit or bad shit. Honestly,
He's like he's a living encyclopedia. It's
He really
actually
is.
it's freakish. Like when he dies, they need to. Didn't they do that with Einstein's brain when he died? They like dissected it to look and see what was going on with his brain because he's so smart or something.
the greatest
At least that's what
living
I've heard.
bank of information regarding Star Wars that ever existed. So you're gonna want to take advantage of
Probably.
it.
They if Wikipedia ever goes down, next time I have them on, just throughout the episode, I'm just gonna click a random article on Wikipedia, just the randomize button, and then I'm gonna say, "Hey, tell me about," and it'll be some random person, Gino Estelorio, or hey, this planet Morgadoc or whatever, and just to see if he could tell me a fact about it at random.
He's
I
like,
bet he
that's-
probably could.
He's like, that's the merchant guy with the 3 pigs, right? You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just reading the Wikipedia page, like I don't fucking know. I had an odd dream last
He would
night.
probably, I would probably like say the name of something, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's actually pronounced da 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 da," just like randomly.
Probably be able to pick eras and clarify who wrote it, and someone just be like, "Yep, I knew that too, 100%." I had an odd dream last night with the EFAP crew were all roommates, and yes, everyone's face was their avatar for some reason. Muller was baking brownie cakes one after another. Also, chat was there as a poster on the wall. Feels like maybe that's the animated
Interesting.
version of the show. Who knows? No, it
Do you
kind
do
of
any
is animated.
baking? Is that
I
like?
cook, but I don't really bake. I guess if
I don't bake either. You and I are the same there. I don't bake, but I cook.
we're on to Arc 2 now. Who cares about Andor? Ironheart is coming out. True.
Oh yes.
That's right.
Just popping
Bro,
in to say...
Ahsoka is a Mandalorian and a Jedi, much like Ironheart. Riri Williams is Iron Woman and also a magic user.
Wow.
There's parallels there.
I'm so glad they infused Iron Man's technology with magic just right at the beginning. That's a wonderful way to start that story instead of working on the basics first. Good job.
You're right.
Just popping in to say some idiot, a massive who did some EFAP animations, released a music video for Tom Hardy's Businessman. It's a good rat. Go watch. Yeah, fair enough. Both excellent creators.
Oh yeah, he's very, very talented.
Qui-Gon died of AIDS. We know this. True. Yoda does mention. Very quiet though in the funeral.
young Obi-Wan. You think lightsaber through chest kill you? No.
Fucking Mace Windu's like, what struck him down? You're like, AIDS.
It's like, really? Yes, completely unrelated to the to the lightsaber thing too. Completely unrelated. Total coincidence. Because AIDS kills you all at once, you know.
Rags, what do you think of Filoni's wolf kink?
I'm for it. It's a little basic, but you know, it's something.
I'd probably be for it if he was a good writer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'd rather I think I'm glad it's there because it's funny and weird. It's kind of cringe.
That's the thing, though. I don't find I almost find it. It's just a wolf. You know, it's like it's it's not an unusual animal to
I know,
pick
it's
as like
kind
your
of the
favorite, which is kind of what I want. You know, that's what I like to see. Is if someone's like, "Yeah, my favorite animal is the tiger quoll." It's like, huh, okay.
yeah, or
Or
the
like,
pangolin or something like that, and you're like, "Oh,
my
that's really
favorite
cool,
is the
yeah, yeah."
rockhopper penguin, or my favorite is the
The
hell.
slug.
If somebody said my favorite is the Sumatran tiger, it'd be like, why Sumatran? You know, like that
You
already feels like it's something you could talk about.
Yeah, you already know
Compared
to
to
make a distinction between them.
it's just like, yeah, my favorite animal is a wolf. It's like that's fine. Wolves are cool. They're cool. They're cool doggos. But it's a very conventional choice. It's a very conventional choice to be very, focused on. Nothing wrong with that. Again, if he was an amazing writer and he wrote these great stories that had to do with wolves, then yeah, it would. But the fact that he's bad makes it cringe.
I think so too. There is something
Compared
about
to
the
if he was
combination of
obsessed with,
those.
again, ocelots or something, and he made stories about ocelots, I feel like that would be less cringe even if he was as bad. Because, like, the fact that he chose an ocelot is already kind of more interesting to me than, for instance, if his favorite cat was a lion. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Or, and of course, I like when people make choices where the animal isn't so plainly cool. Like, pandas aren't. I don't know if you'd say a panda is cool. They're
It's
fun
cute
and they're
enough to where it would
charming.
be I think it's cute enough and well known enough to be where a lot of people might pick it just for that.
Yeah,
But
no, I think that's a fair
if he said like a
choice.
rat, right? If he said a rat is my favorite animal, and you're like,
That's
"Oh, really? Tell
super
me why."
interesting. Yeah.
And then he'd say like, "Oh, I really like they're super social and smart, and I like them, and I think they're just super cute and everything. But I like how mobile they are. They climb around on stuff, and they have like friends, and they play around with each other, and they squeak when they're happy. It's stuff like that, very personal things that are relatable. But but if you asked him why is wolf your favorite animal, he'd be like, "They're so cool.
They're so cool. Yeah, the
They're so
noble
cool."
wolf.
Wanted to check out Gilroy's earlier work, so I watched Michael Clayton. Fantastic movie, incredible writing, directing, and performances. Rip to the GOAT, Tom Wilkinson. Rip indeed. Always love to see him pop up in all kinds of things. As for Michael Clayton, I need to watch that.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I don't know why I was thinking of the I think it's because George Clooney's also in it. What was it? The Ides of March? Was that what
Oh
what it
yeah,
was
yeah.
called, right?
I think
That
so.
was with Ryan Gosling. That was a cool movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, but that was Bo Willimon wrote that one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the Andor guys.
I hate Star Wars, man. It's so freaking lame. Majority of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
the majority of it is
Easily.
lame.
The original trilogy was lightning in a bottle. The magic was once in a lifetime, something Disney never understood. Tony Gilroy, however, seemed to know Star Wars needed an injection of something really new. Yeah, because I'd happily concede Tony Gilroy's not captured at the OT, but that's fine. Like he's captured something else. Which I very much enjoy the road that's created from Andor to the OT as well. Even if I...
because you can almost watch Andor, Rogue One, and A New Hope as a kind of trilogy of their own, and it would be interesting to see what he would do if he were told you're making like a feature film, maybe even the entire trilogy, and like it's going to be more mainstream Star Wars than what is obviously like a different proposition, a long form series, much more sort of mature in its targeting. I wouldn't put it past him to be able to do that, and I also think it's wrong to expect Andor to have even tried to do that. It's not a Star Wars feature film. It's not a mainline Star Wars entry. It's obviously got a very different modus
Yeah.
operandi and philosophy. It's designed to achieve a different thing, but that's not to say that therefore he couldn't do it or therefore that it's somehow less valid. Maybe if like a Star Wars trilogy of movies came out that were equivalent in tone to Andor, and maybe like that they did lose some of the magical elements in the lightsabers, I might be more willing to criticize the tonal decisions he made because that's not what the films are for. I'd just be really interested to see what he would do. I'm interested to see what they'll do with Andor when they do, as I think the plan is, cut it down to a feature length and then try and run that before a Rogue One anniversary, which I think the plan is.
Yeah, like political spy thriller, right? While fantasy adventure space opera is just, they're obviously going to be not like so different that they can't be compatible, but it feels like a glimpse of what Star Wars could have been at its best, where it has all these different kinds of projects, but that they ultimately feed into the same broad sort of feeling of galaxy far, far away sort of thing. But oh well. Not sure if y'all read, but Joanna Robinson, an insider, talked about how Andor is disliked in Lucasfilm because it's considered the good one. Filoni hates it, lol. It's an amusing thing, but I could totally believe that he likes it almost in an aloof way. Because I don't know... Filoni just doesn't come across as super vindictive to me. Every single time I hear from him or see any quotes from him, he always seems like super chill about everything. Which is nice, right? It's totally like it's in the same vein.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson's apparently a pleasure to work with. It's like I'm sure you are. It's just that your stories, man, like it's and but the idea that he'd be bitter about Andor would be funny to me. I just I'm not sure I'd be willing to believe it just from like one person's one quote.
Maybe after his next thing comes out and everyone compares it to Andor, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like he draws upon the stoic nobility of the wolf, the spirit of the wolf, and he meditates and he thinks about the wolf, and the wolf keeps him, mellow. It keeps him chill. It keeps him in charge of his emotions.
I've never seen so much good writing and love given to characters I just can't be fucked with. I want Thrawn written as good as Partagaz, and you'll never get it.
Nope, it
never
won't
gonna
happen.
Yeah.
No.
Partagaz is better than Thrawn. That's just how it
Easily.
is.
Not even close.
But the
Thrawn
irony,
is
of
a
course, is like
clown moron.
the power plugged into Partagaz absolutely is what people wanted for Thrawn, but didn't get to have just because of the luck of the fucking draw with who's writing what. That's just how it goes. Sorry. Though the funny part, I guess, would be if Gilroy were given the chance, he'd probably be like, "I'd rather have my own character than write for fucking Thrawn." To be honest with you, and it's just like, there you go. Because Partagaz is just an easy favorite for me. He's so fucking entertaining in every scene he was in. He doesn't even... I think I saw someone list it. He has like 19 minutes in total across the 2 seasons. Fucking
Not
insane.
enough, damn
I
it.
feel like 19 minutes.
Isn't that just insane? It's like he's one of my favorites. I see him as like integral to everything to do with the story of Andor, and he's only in it for that much.
He's like, he's like Krennic.
Yeah.
His screen time to like presence ratio is crazy good.
I have French PTSD from Arcane, but this was neat. Like, yes, I understand what you mean. They were French. The Empire did nothing wrong.
Sucked. They suck so bad.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Arcane
Horrifying.
season 2. Jesus, what a terrible show! I can't believe that.
I'd mentioned how bad it was on, I think it was a real BBC episode, and someone had Superchat something along the lines of like, it wasn't that bad, and it's like, oh god, yes it was. Yes it was.
Yeah, however bad you thought it was worse. It actually ruined everything. It ruined everything.
That timeline of loving the animated adaptation of the world of League of Legends is fucking dead thanks to that. It's all gone.
Absolutely dead. I don't care what they're making next, because now I expect it's going to be cringe and filled with music videos and just crap writing.
Yep.
I was on the verge of putting a tweet out because the random thought came to me of Heimerdinger in particular, and it was going to be something along the lines of like with a picture of him. I'd be like, name a character that was more like tossed aside and completely discarded more than Heimerdinger. Because it's just the thought. Arcane season 2 popped in my head for whatever reason. I'm like, man, no one talks about that anymore. That shit just died.
Yep.
And the more the time goes by, the more negative things you just sort of hear wafting around about it.
Thank fuck we got that stupid little kid that ruined everything that no one talks about anymore.
Yeah.
That was worth it.
Yeah, that was motherhood or whatever.
Gorman was a good start. All right, geez, talking.
No. Dang.
French-sounding fake language and music is to Platoon like the dying screams of alien children torture sounds to Bix. Guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If the French sounds are in pain, then I quite enjoy them. But if they're not, then...
I was an Andor hater, and I loved Season 2. The specific timeline forces the writers to focus on the Rebels versus the Empire story without Jedi, and it's so engaging.
It's funny you say that, because I do believe that the overall pacing of Season 1 is better.
Overall, yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah. So... Yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to like hate Season 1 and love Season 2.
The thing,
I find that hard to reconcile.
There's the biggest payoffs, so to speak, are in Season 2, so it kind of makes sense that people would feel that way.
Yeah, but hating season 1?
I don't know why you would hate season 1. Take a shot every time someone says Gorman. Well, it comes up a bunch. Calkite. Don't forget that either.
That's right.
Filoni didn't invent Mandalorian stories, Mauler. He ruined them. That's why we keep telling you play the KOTOR games. Bangs head on wall. Also, what the fuck, Rags? Don't know why they're saying that. But
I don't know. I stand by it, whatever it was.
also, what makes you think I thought that Filoni invented Mandalorian stories? When have I ever
when Mandalorians existed in Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, was Filoni even alive when the
When
Mandalorian was
Empire
first
came out, I
introduced?
thought,
I don't, yeah, but no, I didn't think he was the one. Dude, I love the design of the Mandalorians, like, and I'm
Yeah, it's
fucking
just
annoyed
they've
that
been
they're
made
so cringy.
cringe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
Right, they've been
suck.
made
Yeah,
cringe
nothing's done more damage to Mandalorians than
than the
the
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They suck. What a bunch of loser retards living in a cave.
Got a back-to-back love you Ryan and hate you Ryan. Audiences got different opinions on this. I'm ambivalent about Ryan. All right. Looks like all options have been taken. Ryan is my ninja. I see. Beautiful. Ryan is gay. A good nerd, but super duper gay. All right, fair. Oh boy, criticism of the hour. Again, you could just say whatever you want to say, man. I think you
No, where
guys...
we need preparation.
I think you guys should release 2 super chat catch-ups per week, because that would actually catch you up. That's not criticism. That's an idea. Those are different
Maybe they're
things.
criticizing. There's an implied criticism, which
Well,
is that he's criticizing that we do it in a different way than he wants us
Implied
to.
criticism
I guess.
of the hour.
Oh yeah, IP.
Well, but no, the version of it that would be
iPods,
criticism would be
iPoth.
you should
It'd
not
be
release
iPod.
1 per week because you'll never catch up. That's what the criticism should be. And then the reply would be, well, we're not fully recorded on all of them yet. Once we are, I'll consider trying to release them faster. But right now, we're not in any kind of rush. And to be honest with you, we got so many other things to do and release. I don't want to start spamming videos. It's the big reason I'm kind of against releasing them super fast. But we'll consider it. Not something that hasn't been considered. You're all good. I'm pretty sure I've answered this like several times as well. So I gotcha. I understand. Don't you worry. It's fascinating how people are more disturbed at Bix saying rape out loud than they were at her actually getting tortured for months. If you say the atrocity nicely, no one bats an eye. Well, it's been discussed on a couple of streams. It's a different form of content, and a lot of audiences just don't know how to react to it. It makes them uncomfortable and disgusted, which is the point. And I think it fuels a reaction that, like it can fuel up a sort of disgust with the show rather than the event and what it's supposed to sort of evoke. I think Star Wars Theory, by the way, he's made his video about Andor now. He decided to watch the rest of it. And he said that after watching the season, that scene clicks more now for him because it's a microcosm of the broad events taking place in the season, which is that the Empire will want something and they will try and find a way of maneuvering the world such that they get it. But if anything, goes too far as to fail, they'll just take it. He said he felt like the context of that added makes the scene much more fit in with the story they're telling, which, is just like, yeah.
We did have an entire season before that scene.
Well, I would say
definitely
you wouldn't
been
even
there.
need a season. The scene in and of itself is definitely illustrating that, right? Like that's so. And I'm not to imply that hasn't been discussed already. It's just that I guess him seeing the Gorman stuff and other things has made it slot in also for him. And yeah, a lot of
part of it as well, it almost contains its own justification because the fact that so many people seem to be unmoved by planets of billions of people being blown up, or the massacre of children, or like torturing people with lightning and throwing them out of windows and all that. So the fact that that is some ways not seen as being especially dark or devastating means where else can you go? Like you need scenes which jolt the audience in that way, and the Star Wars audience is already apparently immunized to the deaths of billions of people, so make it a very, very personal thing and you get the desired effect. You can't really, unless you want it to be dramatically flat as a story, you need a way to go. And I'm not saying that you should just do it for shock value, because obviously we've made our many defenses of that scene, but it's supposed to be powerful. They picked a powerful way of doing it, and evidently there are other more powerful things which are not powerful anymore because you've seen them too many times.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one being the blowing up planet thing, and it's just like, I guess, just too disconnected to see it as. I mean, and something else, I think, I was talking about this with Drinker, actually, on one of our catch-ups, but in retrospect, probably is a little bit of an unfortunate missed opportunity in A New Hope that Leia's reaction to Alderaan blowing up is a little muted by the time you've seen the whole story. I know that she's got shit to do. I get that, and she's an excellent like compartmentalizing leader. But I think it deserves a bit more than what we get. The entire planet blowing up, all of her family and friends just obliterated. It's like, and that could add to the notion that people don't see it as impactful. And by the way, there is a lot of like real world logic to how humans work with watching a family member getting like stabbed to death versus finding out that a whole country got stabbed to death. The former is obviously going to hit you way harder, even though like mathematically one would argue the latter one is more significant. But you know,
there's a term for it which I can't remember. It's something like the box of it. It's like you can compare the rates of PTSD for drone strike pilots and soldiers on the front line. And drone strike pilots who have a far higher kill count have a much lower incidence of PTSD because they're watching it via a screen. It's removed from where they are. Whereas someone on the front line who might kill fewer people but is doing it more directly has a much higher instance of it. It's just like a basic psychology thing. You are able to distance yourself from either like grand but very, very removed things, or it's just we don't approach those the same way psychologically.
Rey is Andor's sister. Oh, that would be so good. Pretend I sent this during Arc 1. Happy May 10th, the day of Whacking Day, or date of Whacking Day, when Springfield drives snakes into the town square to club them. I remember that. Remember that, Fringy?
Yeah, I remember that episode. Homer was really jazzed about it. He was practicing and he was really good at it.
The music too amps it up, where that probably would be, well, it's near the end, so presumably the end of episode 6, which would be when you got the tension of the robbery and the removing of the recording device receiver. Hi Mauler, name's Tony, found you through Drinker. Anyways guys, I dove into EFAP about 4 months ago and I'm catching up from the beginning. Anyways guys, I'm entering at EFAP 100 now, can't stay. Anyways guys, I'll update again. Anyways guys did sort of fade away as a meme, but it's a very good one. Appreciate it. Yeah, enjoy, you got plenty more episodes to go. A shilling for Andor's radicalization meter. Star Wars was having a pleasant dream, then it woke up to a nightmare of its life. The nightmare is what happens next. Anyway, on to Arc 3. 7, 8, and 9 now. Farewell and adieu to you fair Fleamish massives. Farewell and adieu, you massives of Fleam.
Oh, farewell to you.
So this is probably where the tone's going to change a bit in the super chats. First, starting with, damn, Andor is good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is.
The mech is thankfully barely there. Mech? Presumably they're not talking about K2SO, right? 'Cause more of him, the better.
The mech. Yeah, it'd be odd to call him a mech. I guess he isn't.
Oh, maybe the mechanic would
The mech neck.
The mechanic. Yes, that's what
Yeah,
they're
the
called.
mechanic.
Oh, that's what they're called, yeah.
do.
Yeah,
God damn
I'm
it.
glad we had that added to the lore. It's such a useful piece of knowledge.
that's world building.
Huzzah! Rags, can you top Fringy's Saw Gerrera episode 5 speech?
No, I don't think I can. I don't think anyone can beat it. I think that was peak fire.
It would be disrespectful to
peak
try
Rido.
and beat it. Yeah. Oh, sweet, crispy, dank Farrick. Ugh, those first 3 episodes were like an overly salty soup to start a full-course meal, but after that, it's so good. Yeah, it does feel like 1, 2, 3 a little separated from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in terms of the quality. And I think it's only really notable as a dip because of how strong the rest of the season is when you take them all together. Very cool-looking parrot species. You know what? I'll keep that one for our. We'll do all of our extinct or assorted animals at the end. I
All right.
can Google them all at the same time. Excited for season 2, arc 3? Are we? Calibrate your enthusiasm. Oh, such a good line.
Brilliant line.
More Partagas, please, with no context for it.
Yeah.
Jason Statham announced for Star Wars OL, Star Wars SWOL movie, movie.
Star Wars.
Not sure.
SWOL. I'll put Star Wars.
Well, what about Jason Statham SWOL? Maybe that.
Oh, it just shows the Ben Swolo memes. Jason Statham. It says new Jason Statham film add Star Wars and Pirates of the Caribbean stars? No. I have no idea what this is referring to.
All right. He'll be K. Can't wait for such a brilliant work. Guys, do his lines for me. Also, Rags, Puck Cheese is the best at.
Puck cheese?
Cheese.
Puck cheese. There's puck cream.
I feel like Google can't even save you from something.
Puck cheese? It's not bad. Oh, puck cheese. It's on r/cheese. Oh yeah, so it's basically it's like a cheese spread. It's like a cream cheese sort of spread.
Okay.
I checked it out on r/cheese.
Okay.
I haven't had it. I couldn't tell you. It's probably good. I don't mind cream cheese, and I like cheesecake, and I like just cheese. Cheese is pretty good. So, yeah, I'd probably like it.
The writers of Eternal have a child's idea of what's cool, and their awful backstory ruins Samuel Hayden and Vega from Doom 2016. Okay. Eternal opinions?
Eternal. Yeah.
Yes. I leaned on a spacebar once, barely escaped an old YouTube 1300. You wouldn't believe what happened next. You know, sometimes I just don't understand what's happening in Super Chat. Okay.
It made enough sense for them to send it, or at least like in their head, right? Something was lost in translation from the brain to the fingers to the message to us.
I have found the modern audience. My coworker thinks Harry Potter is better than Lord of the Rings. Star Wars sequels have great story. Loves Kylo because he is complicated. That's what everyone always says who says anything nice about him. And thinks Captain Marvel is the best MCU movie. No joke.
Hopefully they will grow up.
I think it's a joking. Yeah, I don't think it's true.
I can't believe anybody would say Captain Marvel's the best MCU movie.
Yeah, that's when it crossed into the realm of unbelievable.
Yeah. Someone's getting taken for a ride here. It might be you or it might be us. But we are not getting on. We will not be taken on that ride.
Exactly. I haven't seen season 2, but based on what I've heard, I'm glad it's a season 2 to look forward to, unlike Arcane. Also, you Dumbo should look forward to playing DDLC. Oh.
You know, we just might.
It still makes zero sense that Galen Erso is his target. Obviously, the guy is a wealth of info worth interrogating. Well, the logic in Rogue One is to stop him from completing the weapon or whatever, right? Even though I'm pretty sure killing him was like a reshoot thing. It's a weird movie, Rogue One, to try and track all the ADR and the weird shots where people aren't looking at the camera to figure out what the story originally was and what they changed it to, and you know, because it's a big old clusterfuck, which is kind of funny because it still managed to make it through, you know, make a lot of money and be well regarded by a lot of people. He tried.
Well, I mean, the fact that Scarif is at the end,
yeah,
I think that does a lot to leave really good like memories in people's minds.
Yeah, Scarif stuff's pretty good. It's just whatever his name is, the guy who is credited as the director, he's
Gareth
not
Edwards.
made anything. He's just not made anything that's impressed me. But hey, maybe Jurassic World.
That's true.
No.
I'm ready.
Thoughts on
Are you ready
Rogue?
for Dolores?
No.
Have you seen that going around?
The little fucking
I think-
wannabe baby Yoda, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh look, oh she's so cute and everything. It's the official.
We must protect
the
her.
Jurassic Park account. Yeah, we
At all costs.
Who? What? What's happening? What? Oh, you just trying to force this into being a thing?
Yes.
Okay, I've seen this before. Okay.
Jin's character changes on a dime, and I hate it. She sucks. She's the worst part about Rogue One, especially considering the amount of damage
lame.
done by her being there compared to other characters. Thoughts on Rogue One, Tarkin kneeling before Vader? That doesn't happen, though,
That
right?
doesn't happen.
No,
I'm scanning my memory banks,
That doesn't
but
happen.
Peter Cushing action sequence? What?
they're
There's
never in the
not-
same
I don't-
scene.
Well, and unless, of course, you could reinterpret the line to mean, what do you think of Tarkin from Rogue One ending up kneeling to Vader in A New Hope? But it also doesn't happen in that, so I don't know
Nope.
what we're referring to. This is where we would need Ryan, probably. I don't
Is there
know
a
of any
deleted
scene where...
scene?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. That could be it. I haven't seen it, if it is. EFAP covering videos when? Keep being awesome. Hey, got retarded Avengers, alright? And we got...
Good.
The thing is, we have horrifying monsters to slay, like Lilo and Stitch. That came soon after that.
That was an eldritch abomination.
Mm-hmm. Keep being awesome. No problem. I like the part in Adventure Time where Lumpy Space Princess lives with wolves as a hobo. So these were talking wolves? No, they were normal wolves, but I could read their body language. Oh, yeah. Dude, Adventure Time's awesome.
Cool show.
I've heard it's really good. I don't know anything about it, but
The thing that struck
I've
me
heard
about it
it's
is
good.
it's so obviously like a kid's show aesthetically and kind of the stories it tells, but it's really entertaining for adults. There's loads of just the cleverness in how the writing runs, and it's very wholesome a lot of the time too. In a good way, cringe way. Oh, all of you, what's your top 5 favorite Star Wars characters now that Andor is done? Will Luke, Han, and Obi-Wan even fit now?
I feel like we actually talked about this before.
Sure.
I think we did, but it was
must
at the
have.
end of
Yeah.
the Act 4. We might have gone on to it.
Probably. I mean, top all-timers, the funny thing for me is still probably Vader is my number 1. A lot of people just assume it'd be Luke or Han or whatever. I mean, Vader's fucking awesome, dude. But I am thinking strictly of the OT, not of the prequels when I think of Vader, obviously.
Obviously.
You know, a lot of people would pick Anakin as their favorite, which I think is distinctly a different thing than picking Vader. Obviously, in the sense that, like, when you say Anakin, I assume you are picking prequel man.
Episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Clone Wars, guys.
Yeah. That's a different Anakin again, though.
Yeah.
But then, you know, expanding through that is like, how many Andor characters do you think make it into that top 5? It's like, well, Luthen's got a secure spot, and he ain't getting forced out anytime soon. He's just
He's
utterly
gonna be
brilliant.
tough. He will. I mean, let's be frank. He will be very near. He will be comfortably one of the best for a for always.
Pretty much, more than likely, yeah. And I don't blame anybody for saying that he's their favorite character of all of Star Wars. That'd be fine with me. So
Yeah,
it's very
you
easy
get
to
no
justify.
complaints from
You
me.
can talk for a long time about all the writing detail and the performance, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And then, like, me personally, Partagaz is scoring really fucking high. There's something fascinating about how his whole existence, like, you know, his first introduction about the ISB versus his whole story. It's just what a deliberate and excellently executed sort of series of events. I love that version of the ISB. It brings me a lot of... it's such a weird thing to say. It brings me structure for why the rebellion needed to be careful and strong, and it was so important that they were defeated.
Yeah. It wasn't just how could we possibly plow through another 1,000 stormtroopers today? Oh, gee golly willikers, what an adventure!
I don't know. What about you guys? Anyone you think would be in a top 5 contender?
Well, I mean, Luthen. Yeah.
Luthen.
Luthen's
Oh,
in the
sorry. I
top
mean
5
anyone
for sure.
else. I figure you guys would have that.
And Cyril is really good. Like, the arc he goes on
Yeah.
is very
Yeah.
compelling. But I'm trying to remember exactly what we did discuss when we discussed this on the stream. Because there's the difference between a character who's just like on their own self-contained, incredibly well written, and a character who's incredibly impactful for the galaxy. In which case, like that's probably the reason a lot of Andor characters might not make a top 5 list, is that though there's more to them. Obviously, they've had an entire 2 seasons as opposed to a couple of movies. They're not quite as impactful as say like a Han Solo is, even though Han Solo probably has less character development. He just has like the perfect arc, but quite a well, not that's the wrong word. He has a perfect arc, but there's not a huge amount around it. He's not very like deep as a character, but it does everything it needs to do for the story. It makes him more compelling, maybe, in people's imagination.
Sure. Well,
But-
that's where I would be like, it's totally fine to pick favorites, and then if talking about best and trying to use a prism of like the most complicated or layered or well performed plus amazing writing plus impact on, so there's loads of ways you can rationalize it. I don't really have any problem. I was just curious if there's people I'm obviously missing that would be pretty high scorers.
I mean,
Mon
the
Mothma?
Cyril, Deidre,
Hmm.
Mon Mothma sort of trio.
I mean,
there,
some people would say
are all
Andor as
strong.
well. A lot of work gets done for him. Just the
Yeah, I mean, season 2 in particular really helps to do a lot with him. I think it's not Andor's fault that there's just a lot of other excellent characters.
It's not the first TV
that
show
you
you would have
feel-
come across where the supporting characters are just more interesting than the main character. It happens. I like Andor a lot, but like, I want more Luthen and Partagaz and K2SO than I do Andor, even though a lot of what is entertaining to me about K2SO will be his interactions with Andor specifically. So, it's just weird to try and create some kind of ranking system because there's so many different ways to level them. But the fact is, they clear, like, Andor and OT characters clear all of Star Wars, basically.
Mm-hmm.
With the notable exception, I suppose, of Obi-Wan from the prequels plus the OT, because I really do love Obi-Wan generally. He's a really cool, good guy, trying to do the right thing, darn it, in a world filled with crazy people. I even like, this has always been a big opportunity for a story that never got told, even though they could easily tell it in live action, which is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Obi-Wan, he's not particularly force sensitive as Jedi go. He had to train like a motherfucker to get to where he was. If Ryan were here, he'd be able to fill this in, but like I'm pretty sure that's his background, is that whereas Anakin is like a fucking force nuke, Obi-Wan was more of like a normie who had to train extensively. Hence he's a bit of a like by the book type character in Phantom Menace. And I guess you could argue he is that in a lot of ways. But that was, do you remember us talking about this in one of the episodes of EFAP? It was so weird that they chose to make him so reckless in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Like,
I'm sure we did have this conversation.
because in Phantom Menace he's like, why would you go against the Council's wishes, Master Qui-Gon? And like, all these sort of cautionary statements.
What happened? Yeah, what happened to make him that way?
Well, and that's, if you wanted to progress him that way, it's totally fine. But just yeah, as you said, it's like where did that come in? And it's weird because as contrast to Anakin, who is also extremely reckless, if not more so. So it's like, especially because Qui-Gon, right, notably a rebellious, sort of arguably gray Jedi, having Obi-Wan be more by the book felt is like there's a good contrast there. But then to make him, the prequels are strange. Okay, that's all I can say. There's strange choices.
It's almost like, because you get the scene right at obviously the end of the Phantom Menace when Obi-Wan does rebel against the Council, does so to fulfill his dying promise to his master. I guess like that scene can't realistically do all of the character work, but the closest you're going to get to like Obi-Wan's changing character is probably that scene. It's like that's the moment when he sort of becomes Qui-Gon, effectively.
So the thing about that reference, and it's always stood out to me as this, it's like, don't be training Anakin. It's like, well, Qui-Gon asked that I do as his final wish, so I will. And then Yoda says, agree with you, the Council does. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then, of course,
Were they?
he's totally within his right anyway, because he's a Jedi Knight at that point, so you can take a Padawan. And it's like, well, then there's no...
Surely not anybody, right?
Well, I'm not 100% clear on those rules,
right?
But all I'm getting at is that it wasn't even a. They're practically just like, all right then. It's like, okay. I mean, you guys made a huge deal about not trading him, and then it's like, well, just you go right ahead. It's like, alrighty. You know, we've talked about this. The prequels need reshuffling and redrafting, and they would likely make for a really fucking good story.
Mm-hmm.
Bringy, do you watch Real BBC and Open Bar? It sounds like you might.
Yes, sometimes, but not. I not often.
I mean, I would have assumed it would be almost impossible to be keeping up with all the shows that are happening.
There's just too much. Too much. I mean, if you're watching like all the live streams that you could be watching, you'd be getting nothing done.
Pretty much. You know, somewhere in the multiverse there is a version of LOLO, but it's set in Gorman. Yeah, true. The beauty of the multiverse. I'm so glad they explore it so thoroughly in Marvel.
Yeah, there's infinite universes where the Gormans massacre the Imperials, and
Exactly.
things just are different, you know?
For EFAPs of new movies, please use cam footage or anything else that's available. That way we can follow along better instead of looking at posters. No.
Use cam footage? What?
Just
What?
outright no. We can't figure out why. That's all good. No worries, but no fucking
Would
way.
never condone that.
Finally, a good season 2. Finished rewatching season 1 earlier today. Now rewatching the EFAP coverage of it before watching season 2. Wish me luck, boys. Love you all.
Good luck.
Good luck indeed. With Andor over, I gotta say, I really have disliked the Cassian hate. He's been shown to be intelligent, clever, resourceful, and charming. He's become one of my favorites in Star Wars. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I do
it's
genuinely
good.
miss that we won't be able to get more of what he gets up to, because he is interesting to watch at his best. He really is. Like I said, he's unfortunate in the sense that he's surrounded by fucking fascinating characters, and so he gets eclipsed a little bit.
And he doesn't really start sort of he has that one really great moment where he is playing a very different character. He's basically playing Luthen on Gorman, and it is so very different. It works really well because it's such a contrast to his usual demeanor. And maybe the problem is like his usual demeanor is what we've kind of had for basically all of season 1 and a large part of season 2, and it's totally fitting for the character, but it is downtrodden. It's quite depressed. It's very stressed. He's always trying to keep things together. He's not massively emotive because he keeps lots of things suppressed and buried deep down to keep on top of him. It's like he's not the most energetic thing to look at on the screen, or he's not the most obviously interesting character either. There's a lot going on. It's just not really in your face. Whereas if we had those extra seasons where he could go on spy missions, could play multiple different characters, seeing Diego Luna's range come out a bit more, we got a taste of what that could have been like, which was really enjoyable. But it's probably why he doesn't get quite so much love as the rest.
Long-time listener here, y'all have made a lot of long drives and long farm work days a lot more entertaining. I've listened in the tractor cab, the grain bin, the office, and a lot more. Y'all rock. Cool.
The grain bin. Is that like the big silo where all the grain is? You got your radio in there.
That feels
adjust the knobs.
I like the idea of us echoing through a silo of grain. We talk about how bad Lilo and Stitch or whatever else.
Whatever happened with Silo? I know season 2 came out.
Season 2's out. I just haven't had the time, but we'll find a way at some point, maybe.
Because I really would like to, because I really like season 1. So,
it's a long second season. I won't say anymore.
Maybe wait till season 3 and see what the reception is. But I do like season 1. But yeah, I'm glad that we entertain on long drives or long farm days. Also, I know about farms now because I've seen 4 seasons of Clarkson's Farm. Good on you. Hope you're going great over there with all your fun animals.
That's right. What is the number 1 rule of farming?
We don't talk about farming. Nerdonymous made 3 of the greatest Star Wars videos and left. Chad Legend. Also, Tony almost wrote Rogue One, but his dad died and he only came in after. Oh man, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. No.
And as for that statement of made 3 of the greatest Star Wars videos and left, true. And it's
definitely
rude
true.
of him not to have continued, even though that's his decision to make. Because those 3 videos are excellent.
They're so good and they're so compelling in terms of the arguments that they make. Obviously, it's just that Marshall Lucas is the reason why Star Wars is good. It's like, man, that's crazy how that just like became
Yep.
a commonly accepted opinion. But God, the sarcasm in that video. Professor Jump.
He's,
Like, Professor, sorry,
it's
I'm
so
confused.
warranted because it's just like, what the fuck was they called Rocket Jump University or something, right? It's like, what the fuck were they doing?
Rocket
It's
Jump
just lies.
School. Yeah. Well,
And-
I mean, it was a half-assed video that was being presented as a lot more well researched and thought out than that.
You know, it's like you have a fucking alien character, and originally it's going to have like a circular head, but it ended up having a more square head, and then they'll just be like, yeah, see, the square head's way better because square heads are more better.
No, there was no
what it is.
because. There's no because in there. It would just be like the assertion sometimes of this is just
wow.
better.
Oh, this scene has gone for too long. Man, this is just worse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so crap. It's just like, why? Can you please give a reason ever? Cyril Khan being one of the most tragic characters in Star Wars was not on my bingo card. He even got the Anakin liar moment. I will say, as much as it was quite like shocking and fucking substantive as hell. It was assumed that his story was going to go. When you go back to season one,
something big would have had to have happened there.
And you're like, we're going to look at the lower level sort of security bureau under the control of the Empire, someone who believes in law and order type character, and he's going to spend the season getting closer and closer to capturing Cassian while truly believing in the notion that the world is better with order, sort of thing. It's like, well, one of the ways you can definitely take that character is to realize just how evil the organization he works for is. Definitely one of them. A lot of people speculated that he would like consolidate and, you know, knuckle down and be absolutely within the Empire, while Dedra would be the one that would eventually crack, and that it would cause like a huge thing between them, which you could go that direction as well. I'm just, I think what they did in episode 8 was phenomenal Star Wars, and it's going to be remembered for a long time. Thanks to his experiences and what happens in Gorman. A Republic credit for the Andor Excellence meter. Thank you very much. Enjoying these episodes very much, thank you. Glad you are. I'm glad they were pretty well received. I think people enjoy being able to talk about Star Wars in a positive way. It's been a while, you know?
It has been since...
A while.
When was the last...
episode 3 or 4 of it was season 3 of Mandalorian. What was that random episode that we liked? Remember that?
Oh yeah, it was like episode 4.
Episode
yeah.
3 of season 3. Yes,
that was
Pershing episode.
That was insane. It came out of nowhere. It was just like what?
Like a real episode of television, and then it went back to it because it was
Mando
bookended
slop.
at the beginning and the end by Mando action scenes, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's like that's when the little goo. Is that when the? Oh, what was the opening? Yeah, I can't even remember what it was.
I think the opening was a big fight, an aerial battle over the castle that Bo-Katan had on that planet. You remember how she just had the big castle that she was in?
She just sits in that empty hall of stone and
but everybody left her, so she was brooding.
Don't remind me of. You know what's funny? I was immediately struck by how sterile the fucking writing is. I don't get to enjoy any character. I just have to fucking watch, you know, action figures smash into each other. That's all it is. There's no actual substance ever. Even Tony didn't want to touch Yavin too much because he said he doesn't think it makes a lot of sense in Star Wars canon. There's a clip in a new interview. Yeah, which I do actually find relatively compelling. Yavin, the size and scope and how the Star Wars universe works, it is incredibly difficult to keep that a secret. And it makes sense to me that for someone who thinks having Luthen with all of his crazy efforts to stay secret is difficult, how could they ever entertain Yavin staying secret? It's like never gonna happen. There's fucking hundreds of people going in and out, and I do appreciate they did put effort into it, being like everything has to be logged. And you have to take this all extremely seriously, and that the idea of conflict coming up with Luthen and Clea being like, who the fuck is joining all the time? Are you vetting these people? How do you know? And all this sort of stuff. Like, I think it was handled relatively well, but as we said, would have been nice to have seen Yavin built from all the different pieces and stuff.
From scratch, yeah.
I don't think it's impossible. It would be it's difficult to make it plausible. I don't think it's impossible to make it
Plausible
plausible in a
is one thing. I just don't know that it could ever realistically exist in that world. But there's a handful of things that can't realistically run perfectly. So you can give some space for it, especially if there's a lot of writing efforts to hide the planet with all different kinds of systems in play.
yeah,
but
this is a franchise where you can just delete a planet from the Jedi archives and then no one
That's
knows
horseshit.
it.
Oh yeah. Well, we're all in agreement on the correct assessment, which is that is bullshit, and you cannot do that.
well,
But
with something like Yavin, right, all it takes is one person getting captured and given significant torture and letting the word out. That's why it's like, that never happened, and it's like, well, it's just, that's what I mean by the plausibility. It's like, if you do enough work, the audience will definitely buy it. It's just, I get why he didn't want to focus too hard on it, because it is a little at odds with the what he had built in previous season, in terms of the spy network and how careful everybody is. So there's discussions to be had. It's just going to take a lot of work. Alternative idea for Claire and Lutheran hospital scene is she was force sensitive the whole time and subtly disconnects his life support from across the hall.
stop.
No, thank you.
Nope.
Quit this. Let it go.
It's I'm trying to say, like, there's good intention in terms of just like how to execute different versions of the scene and everything, but I just can we please get away with no force users? It just, I know that people say, like, isn't Bix force sensitive or whatever, and, it's like, and we got that force healer. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, Claire and Luthen are incredibly interesting. They do not need to be force users. We're all good. It's all good. Christmas Day 2022, an uttered wish is heard and the monkey paw curls. Where now one thing will ring true. Quote, Andor Season 2 must be good, and the terrible cost, many sequels will be tainted. Monkey paw now curled. If you could change one project, series, movie, etc. that came out during that time, but at the sacrifice of Season 2 of Andor, would you do it, and what would it be? I think we've answered this before, but we can give. What project would you save at the sacrifice of Andor?
What project would I save at the sacrifice of it? I mean, maybe Arcane.
It depends. With Arcane, if I sacrifice Andor Season 2, do I get not only... You know what? I want this to be the deal. I want a season that I consider better than Season 1, and I want some guarantees about the future, instead of just being like, oh, you know, it could just go completely to shit immediately, because I'm very satisfied with Andor's complete story now, and if it has to go to shit, thus, like, arguably damaging the first season with the malignant tumor of the second, I better be buying something worthwhile, alright? Because, you know, it depends on how this deal looks entirely.
And Season 2 is excellent, but also the next League of Legends show is also good for at least one season.
Which, you know, seems like it would be a little bit more likely, being that the person who helped create Season 2 would get some critical acclaim. However, the fucking people who made Season 1 what it was all got fucking flushed out, so what do I know? That's so crazy. Just getting that casual admittance of what happened to the writing room, and it accounts for everything. Like, great. Nice work, guys.
Like I said, it is the biggest drop in quality of anything ever. I don't think that anything else kind of.
Yeah, and it's an important distinction. It's about just how good Season 1 is, and then just how bad Season 2 is.
Yeah.
There are some things that could enter the competition with it, but I don't think any are going to beat it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't blame people for saying, but I don't think anything is as complete and total.
I know you're not at the episodes in which he's present, but I'd like to nominate K2 for Best Boy. Also, salutations, Rags.
Oh, salutations. We love K2SO.
Well, as we were covering it, I unapologetically adore that character. He's so much fun. And I'm glad that every line was worth it. And I love Alan Tudyk's enthusiasm to play him.
It was fun to watch him in the behind the scenes, like with the stilts and everything on, and sitting down and looking around.
But they all say, like, he entertains the shit out of people on set. He's apparently really funny, which I can totally buy, because he plays like a million funny characters.
If you play him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's such a funny. It's like a drug, you know. It's you know not to take more of it. All right, got to stop requesting more of any of the great stuff of Andor. Just appreciate what we have. All right, it's I am very him using Hiet as a human shield is so fucking cool. Such a terrifying but funny droid. Cassian, I've cleared a path.
He's so proud of himself.
And it's so much fun for us in terms of him seeing him save them, and it's like quite lighthearted. But then cut back to Partagaz, it's the worst fucking day of his career. Like, why is there a KX droid killing everybody? It's just like, we don't know. Why was there even one there? And it's like, I don't know. The non-Star Wars fan gets the Force better than Filoni. Exactly, this is what I'm saying. Because he was like, what mechanics am I dealing with in this universe? Reads up on them. Filoni, on the other hand, is like, what mechanics am I... Well, you know what? Mechanics are what you make of them.
What mechanics have I not given to Ahsoka yet?
Yeah.
Or Sabine?
Or Sabine.
Oh, time travel, sweet. Let's do that. And she goes into a portal. Oh, Force and Mandalorian? Yep, we gotta combine those two together. That'll be super cool.
It's not just mechanics, though. It's this like meaning and symbolism as well. Because I think this came
Yeah.
up in the conversation of the Force healer in Andor, and how it was basically the first proper conversation about the Force we've had, if not since the actually I'd probably say since the OT, because the prequels obviously introduced the whole biological mechanism to it, and they don't really have that much to say. But it's the first like substantive conversation you've had that hasn't just been vague magic woo woo nonsense.
Pretty much. I have lost
Yeah,
all...
someone who, because the way that she was sort of talking about it, it's almost like she didn't even know herself in a way. Like she lacked guidance or training on it, which would sort of make sense in this world. And
Well, yeah,
you don't know where she's from, so it's just like, I'll tell you just the sort of things that I've picked up almost. And it's like the way that whoever the actress is did a really good job at sort of implying that she's trying to use words to explain to somebody else these very strange thoughts in her head, and these strange understood concepts or semi-understood concept in her head. So it was neat to see, and I appreciate it.
Well, going from
Quite a
her
bit.
to then having Obi-Wan introduce it to Luke, and then all the craziness of like Vader and Obi-Wan and all that sort of stuff, and Yoda. I think it's a neat little entry taste sort of thing in Andor, because it's such a like, huh, what? Force healers? That sounds like bullshit. And it's, you know, if you're an audience member who doesn't know anything about any of this, you'd be like, Force? What's all this about then? Another aspect to the universe. Woohoo. I have lost all respect for you, Mauler. How embarrassing. Choosing to be blinded by hate. I have never thought of you as more an idiot than right now. Your critiques are poor. And in brackets,
Classic.
I've been cashing up on the backlog. This was one of the... Yeah, for those who don't know, that was a legitimate message that was sent to me because I didn't like The Last of Us 2. It's just funny to think back of being like... Their frustration with me was like that I had clearly just joined the bandwagon. When, if anything, I held out as long as I could with that fucking game. I was like, okay.
A lot of people did.
I tried to, like, you know, I was like, I've heard everyone shitting on it. I know about some of the leaks in terms of, you know, the anger and the fury, but it's like, got to see the context, got to take it for... I like the first one, blah, blah. But you can, as soon as Joel is killed, my mood switches quite significantly, which I think is the same for a lot of people.
Well, I'm not sure what the viewership ended up being on the show, but
It's
I know
lower.
just anecdotally, I've heard a lot of people have jumped ship because of the quality of it. And Random Film Talk made a video that I watched talking about season 2 because I
Bad.
ain't watching this shit. There's a lot of bad stuff, and I'm pretty positive
Well,
about season 1.
as
Season
Random
1's
points
pretty
out
good.
in that video, not only is it going to be bad as a result of adapting something that's fucking bad, they sometimes make changes for the far worse, which is baffling. When you're dealing with source material that is fucking hated, that you manage to try and like find ways to make it worse is just okay. Go right ahead. It does feel like there's a significant nosedive in dialogue quality from season 1 to 2 as well. I don't know what's going on, but the fact that they're making a season 3 with Abby's going to be the main character, Joel's not in it, and Ellie's barely in it. It's just like, good luck with those fucking numbers, guys.
Yeah, what are y'all doing?
Baffling decision. Willman traded up. Sorry, not sorry, lol. talking about his corn girlfriend versus his French girlfriend, I think. But, Willman, he just getting around. He does his thing. He's got jobs to do, and he meets some ladies along the way. Rip Joe Don Baker. Do I know who? Oh, he's in loads of stuff. He's in GoldenEye. He's one of those actors where if you see his face, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know this guy, but you don't necessarily remember the name.
Oh, he looks quite familiar.
In Cape
Oh, what's he been
Fear. I remember him mostly from GoldenEye. What else?
I've seen him in so many things, and
Yeah,
nothing's
he was
coming to mind.
full on like character actor. He just pops up in a lot of things. I'm trying to think of what his most famous sort of thing would be. Well, in any case, I'm sure you all. Oh, he was in Mars Attacks. I like Mars
Wow,
Attacks.
okay.
But yeah, rip indeed. Second/third season for an entire episode of season 1 of 7. Walt and Skylar go to Elliot's birthday party, crucial for both Walt's character and the finale. I assume this is in reference to us probably talking about the nature of filler episodes, maybe? I don't know. Or flashbacks, or...
possibly?
Hut Cream Cocktails, you're welcome, Rags.
I don't like that.
No, I didn't think you...
I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
OST shout out. I love the Gorman Waltz that underscores Cyril's work commute. Such a fun track that really sets the tone for the arc. The OST for Andor is fantastic, in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, fair. Of course, the British call it kettling.
That is the police tactic that they use on Gorman, but it's yes, when there's a bunch of potential riders, and you basically make a big square of officers around them and box them in, because it stops them running away, but it also pisses them off.
Where would you rank all the major characters in Andor favorites list? I'd ask the same for the arcs or individual episodes. Okay, that's just... that's we're not able to pull that off. But ranking the characters of Andor, if we... To sort of make this more reasonable, we'll just do top 3 for everybody. And I'm guessing all of us have Luthen at number 1.
Number 1, yeah.
Yeah, I'm my first thought was instantly not like essentially who could possibly like give him a run for his money. Like, would there be anyone who, I guess, run
Too
for his
good.
money, you have possibilities, but he's too good. Too good.
Runner up for everybody. This might be difficult or different. What's everyone going to choose?
I think it's Cyril.
I'm
Is
thinking
it?
Cyril or
Towards
Mon
Cyril.
Mothma.
Oh god, yeah.
It's probably, I think dude, that's tougher than I thought. Cyril or Mon. I think I'll go with Cyril. But at this point, it might just be vibes. Ask me in a week, and I might give a different answer.
I'm probably going with Partagaz. I'm so partial to Partagaz. It's insane. I just love everything about him.
Excellent. I guess I trying to weigh it up in terms of calculation. Like, he's so good in every scene he's in, but he isn't in that many scenes. But
Yeah.
every scene he's in, he is kind of the embodiment of what the Empire should have been. But he goes out pretty quickly. I don't know that he necessarily has the same strength of arc as everybody else does.
I would probably even concede that Cyril's is incredibly meaningful. It's just me personally, I thoroughly enjoy all of it. And there is a lot to say about Partagaz's final scene that reflects like the story as a whole, right? The brittle nature of authority and all that sort of stuff. And then
I like him more than I like Cyril, but I think I would put Cyril at 2 just because of like how powerful that story overall is.
Yeah.
Like, the massive swings that it takes.
Well, that's why Cyril's going to be on my number 3. Is everyone else picking Mon? Was that Rags? Would that be on number 3?
Mon will be my number 3. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, on the vibes basis, that ask again, and it won't be that answer. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ringy, what's your number 3?
I'm thinking. Oh man. Yeah, it's probably Mon. I think she's probably in number 3.
Although Claire gets some excellent work in season 2. That's the
That's
thing.
true.
I do
Yeah.
like what
He
they do with
does.
her
That's
character.
true.
Hard not to love Dedra as well.
Yep.
Fucking crazy character that journey
It's
as well.
making it more difficult.
Just a really great selection. But ranking them all, we can't possibly. But hopefully that's good enough for now. Gorman will be fine, guys. It and Cyril's torso will come back next season with 100% organic spider legs. It was set up, you see, because, you know... Yeah, I mean, you know, do it for Maul, you can do it for anybody.
Yep, Cyril's body comes back and he has a robotic head.
Ugh. Man, Cyril's story is just chef's kiss. One thing I needed was one more scene between Cyril and Edie. He could be questioned what the point of him being on Gorman is or something. More seasons. Well,
Yep,
as much
more
as
seasons.
we get it with more seasons, they do... One of the really important things they hit on is she says to him at one point that, is there anyone looking out for him? Is there anyone that cares about, like, his safety? I'm glad that was included because it just goes to show that all of her, like, worst fears about the nature of working on Gorman will have come true. You know, you get that shot of her watching the news and everything. It's just a really sad story overall.
Just when the older guy, I forget his name, the older guy is part of the resistance, like accosts him in the door and is like, you know, like how do you say it? How do you say the words? How do you actually do it? And Cyril has to like throw him away to get into the square, like that sort of thing. Him kind of being forced to confront all the stuff that he's sort of led up to and created, and that denialism that sets in at first. They do a lot with him on there.
Yep. An issue I take with Andor, just like the rest of Star Wars, with the armor does nothing. Just make a stormtrooper tankier unless you hit the head at least. That's something that, unlike the whole Taika Waititi shit, where I say, fuck that, I would say that is definitive precedent since the first scene in Star Wars, if you know what I mean, or the first scene with stormtroopers. So it's not something I'd so readily decide to change. You might want to try and maybe provide context, or you might just want to join the continuity and not make a big deal about it, because that is definitively how it has always worked. A blaster shot to a stormtrooper kills them. You change that, it goes against like every interaction stormtroopers have had with blasters in the entirety of the continuity.
Much as it pains me, I would
I'm with you on that.
try and do like it legitimately is one of my biggest world building issues, is how they just do not seem to care about the concept of armor when there are clearly blaster proof things that you could just wear, but people just refuse to do it. And then it's treated as if it's some incredible magical material. Yeah.
One thing I really like about Andor, going back to season 1, that I haven't heard brought up much, is the heavy use regular Imperial Army troops instead of just spamming stormtroopers for everything. Yeah, I like the different ranks that are brought in, the outfits for like ISB supervisors versus the officers versus like that guy who gets brought in to organize the Gorman massacre. Like, it creates a nice hierarchy that feels like it's understood, and then stormtroopers are always used as they should be in Andor, which, you know, with some exceptions here and there, right, like the opening of season 2, but broadly, you're going to find the best stormtrooper shit in the fact that they're considered clowns, broadly, like, and that's almost canon now, that they're clowns, and it takes the Gorman massacre to put them right back into where they should be, which is scary. You don't want to see them. Them being there is a sign that something horrible is about to happen. That's how it should have been the whole fucking time. But like, I don't know, people can slip into just being like, yeah, it's really funny that they can't shoot straight. Hee hee hee. Like, man, you don't realize what you've lost. I perpetually hate Waititi for that shit.
Yep.
The singing broke my heart. Yeah, man, it's tragic as hell. They're at their most peaceful, or attempting to be, when the Empire crank it up and then shoot one of their own. I'm not a big music guy. Can someone tell me how the Gorman national anthem compares to The Power of One, The Power of Many from the
Oh no.
Jesus. A little bit
Oh,
different, you know.
jeez.
Never fear, violence against women. Ryan is here.
Haha.
Thank goodness.
Just when we needed him most.
I'm looking forward to Bone God more. It's pretty cool that you got Will Conrad as your artist. Will started his career on the Buffy comics for Dark Horse Comics decades ago. Coincidence? Funnily enough, yes, it is entirely a coincidence, but it's pretty fucking cool for me. And yeah, I was relatively shocked when the first artwork came back to me. I was shit. He's got quite a lot of talent, that man, and I'm very much beyond humbled to have my writing be represented by his artwork. It's very cool. Slave One name bad, but slave owner Tuscan's good. I don't know what Disney's logic is for the Slave One. I guess because it's sold as a product and it says Slave One, and they're like, no, that's bad. I don't know. It was stupid though, especially when you know the story of it. Muller, if you want to come and see Powerwolf play Grass Pop Belgium, contact me on Discord. Maybe, I don't know when I would go to a gig for them, but I probably not anytime soon. I'm a tad too busy for now, but it would be cool to see him. A shame that blasters always produce traces so you could see the Empire shot their own man. Probably won't stop the riot, but what about footage? Well, the Empire controlled that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they knew that it would be coming, so they would know to keep the cameras
Besides,
a particular way. And...
it's just like, I think the point was made that it wouldn't. Let's say, and this isn't happening, but let's say a Gormanite or a Gormanian, a Gore, managed to record it on their phone and upload it. All the Empire have to do is like it's fabricated. We have evidence to prove that the Gore were the ones that like that whole system was started. They've got an insane propaganda machine. That's what like the whole sequence was about. Beyond the killing of people, of course. It's but I think we're supposed to take away from it that there's so much chaos immediately after that it's just not something anyone gets to think about for very long at all.
Yeah, you could just the Empire could just sort of push that through.
But I think they do such a fabulous job of nailing the storytelling wise. That the shot at the end of all the journalists already fucking whipping up the story, the official story with like all the bodies cleared and the plaza being like used as a set already in the same day. It's just like, oh god, it's so perfectly done in a horrifying way. Springy, what are your thoughts on anal sex? High ranks.
Hey. Yeah, what do you?
Would you like me to repeat the
Fucking
question?
Strange question. Jesus Christ. I ain't answering that.
You just did.
Well, okay, then that's my answer.
You said
I'm
you
not
love it.
answering that. That's
Oh.
not what I said, you lying fuck.
Imagine Dr. Evil saying Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma.
I mean, yeah, that's probably how it's... what's everyone's favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, man. I mean, cookies and cream. Maybe that's a boring choice.
I was
but
just
I
about
really
to say.
do like it.
It's a very good choice.
My answer's going to be generic, but it probably is cookies and cream.
Though
This
I do like butterscotch variations or caramel kind of variations of as well, but cookies and cream is probably my pick.
This is ice cream flavors.
Yes.
Yes.
I went to a Haagen-Dazs once, and they had like this raspberry cheesecake ice cream that was insanely good. So it would probably be that. I forget the name of the flavor, but it was like little cheesecake bits, and it was raspberry stuff in there, and oh man, that was incredibly good.
Sweet. Pretty sure they based this on the 1968 Mexico massacre. Soldiers shot other soldiers to start the shooting, and thousands of civilians were killed by them. Next morning news were just like the show. There's gonna be countless examples of what is very much more or less applicable, but Tony Gilroy has at the like frustration of a lot of different people said it's supposed to be something that applies to all of time, not just any particular event in history. I can buy completely. It's the more commentary on human nature and systems and empires rising and falling and oppression. all that sort of stuff across. It would have been loads of influences across all different places. And have you? Especially that one Death Trooper in Andor Season 1 that gets one-shotted by Andor is super disappointing and lame to me. They are meant to be a lethal elite. Yeah, you'd think, at the very least, if you're going to maintain that Stormtroopers can get one-shotted, that maybe if you bring in Death Troopers, they should have better armor. You'd think. I mean, it's
One would
complicated.
think. Well, you just want to protect your investments. Like, think of all the time and training and materials that goes into getting a stormtrooper up and running and having them equipped. It's like, yeah, you're going to give them armor to protect them. It's like, obviously. And look at it. This is just like it's one of the things that it's one of the reasons why it bothers me is because you look at a stormtrooper and you're like, oh, that's obviously armor, what they're wearing, right?
Yeah. Hot take, but I think Fringy deserves human rights.
Oh well, you know that's nice. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I think we're mostly in agreement.
Rags thinks Rebels is bad. I'm absolutely fucking pissed off now as a major fan of Rebels and Clone Wars. That was my the worst take I have ever heard.
To be clear, I haven't seen Rebels.
I think they're memes.
But okay. I just making sure. Just making sure that everyone knows that I have not seen Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I do think it's shit. So there.
Especially, oh yeah, right. What's stronger, a KX droid hit or a KVS hit? So, KVS, from what I remember, she can't actually kill everything in one shot. Some things take 2 shots. So, but the thing, well, it's gonna be K. She's stronger than a KX droid. Let's be honest.
Well, it'd be the dark troopers. Those take 2 hits, right? You have to stun them and then you gotta bump them.
There's a couple of heavies, and then there's anybody with a shield as well. It takes 2.
Okay.
So I think there's more than that too, and there's some animals or whatever. But
they just happen to have like shield equipment. So.
But a KX droid, did it truly match up to KVS? I don't think so.
Certainly not her raw charisma.
Exactly. I adore the prequel trilogy, love the original trilogy, fucking the sequel trilogy. I think they meant fucking hate the sequel trilogy. All they have is fucking the. You want to fuck the sequel trilogy, you go right ahead. Anakin, have you ever heard the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? So much better than anything in Andor, right? Right? Still a lot of people who really wanted an Emperor cameo in Andor.
There is just that one scene where it would have been really satisfying to see him, but he didn't need to be there, so he wasn't.
It's just insane restraint, because he could totally have done it. Nah. So don't need it. And isn't that a difference, the fact that everyone's like, please put it in, versus getting overflowed with cameos and just being like, yay, Star Wars, yay. Well, I mean, we wouldn't be, but you know. Mola seems to be happy right now. Arcane Season 2. Oh, they reminded me of that just to make me feel bad.
Bastards.
Sam equals top tier rebel for killing Cinta for views. That's why he did it. Or maybe they mean killing him for the viewers. Sorry, that could be it. I mean, you know, it's not like Cinta was one of my favorite characters, but I still think it makes for like an effective little story among the bigger story. Obligatory shilling for Gandhi Tartakovsky's 2003 Star Wars Clone Wars, the greatest piece of Star Wars content ever created. A shame gets no coverage or acknowledgement. Hashtag make Clone Wars cool again. I mean, it has a very, very good reputation. It's a distinctly different reputation than Filoni's Clone Wars. Only thing that could have made Andor better would be a Forrest Gump cameo during the Gore Massacre, resulting in him being thrown to his death by a K2SO droid. Oh, right, this is the guy that hates Forrest Gump. Right.
Okay.
And then I figured, well, I might as well just run all the way across Gorman.
Is Luthen's... Sorry, it says Lothan, but I assume Luthen. Is Luthen Palpatine's son, aka Rey's dad? No?
Hopefully not.
Rags, you were a breath of fresh air on FNT last night. Great show, lads.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Cheers, Massives. Thank you and your revolving panel for keeping this truck driver company for years. It brings me joy to have parasocially shared this wonderful little kernel in the Lucasfilm turd. Yeah. Kind of the reality. Plenty more
Just
turd on the
taking us-
way.
Taking us across this great nation, down the highways, up the highways, sliding around.
My
Let's go.
rule of thumb, admittedly fuzzy, for swearing in fantasy settings is if it's in the Bible, then it sounds right. Well, is that a good metric? You know, just
I think that's a bad metric.
a weird
right?
metric
'Cause a
for
lot
sure.
of people are not they're not nearly as familiar with the Bible as they like to think that they are.
No, yeah, that got
I wouldn't wanna
highlighted, I think,
be-
by Ryan, actually, on an FNT episode, the whole, these words should not be seen or heard by children, despite the fact that they appear in the Bible, which, you know, certain panelists would say, like, yeah, the children should be reading the Bible. So it's like, well, I gotta be careful.
Yeah. That's right.
Gotta think it through. This next one is for you, Fringy. I guess they want you to say these words.
Alright. I presume they want it in the Saw voice.
I don't know, maybe.
I
Yeah.
gotta try and sink back into that. Let it in! Let it run! Let it run wild!
Fuck yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I hope you're satisfied.
My critters are bitter. Oh yeah, just so you know, we're on arc 4 now. We're finally reaching the end of so many journeys for so many characters, as well as Andor as a whole. Sad face. My critters are bittersweet and soggy as we speak on the end of Andor. What a treat it was! Watching Rogue One right after this gave me whiplash, though. Yeah. It's so weird
A little bit.
to capture it, but you just notice the drop in dialogue quality immediately. Everything is less interesting. I don't know how else to put it. It's just when people say things, it's almost like you at best you get plot progression, but a lot of the time you just get like, huh? And where's this? But there's still, as we've said, there's still good stuff in there. You know, something that really makes it stand out is the two Mos Eisley Glip Shadows that turn up. That is so utterly anti-Andor that you should be like, wait, what the fuck? How is this? Like, who made this? It wasn't the guy who made Andor, was it? And you're like, well, he had a hand in it. Yeah, he was involved. One thing I didn't like, Rogue One, the flaw being planted in the Death Star. I preferred the idea that while building this massive classified prototype, a design flaw happened due to departments working separate, happens in real life. Yeah, I don't think you need the explanation. I think it works regardless. At the same time, I don't know that there's opportunity to be garnered from making it a designed flaw. It's something that has a bit of a push and pull to it. Because I know that people tried for many years to say that it was retarded that something as big as the Death Star could have such a tiny fatal flaw, and how stupid it would be to make something like that when, yeah, I agree, that is applicable to a shit ton of actual machines in real life. That you can fuck with a tiny part of it and it would cause a chain reaction sort of thing. Gilroy to make KOTOR, TFU, SWTOR, and Dark Empire. I don't think you're gonna get that, but maybe one of them. Springy, choose die or kill an innocent kookaburra.
Well, I mean, I like kookaburras, but I also like being alive to appreciate kookaburras, so, you know.
You'll make up for it. You'll
He's
foster
really-
a family
yeah.
and raise a few kookaburras or something.
Like, really,
would
I'm doing it
that
for
would be
them.
Fun. That would be fun, having a little kookaburra
Also,
friend.
I like that it specified an innocent kookaburra. Like,
I mean, are there any guilty
there's
kookaburras?
some guilty ones running around,
Maybe.
dude. Yes.
There's some bad ones out there.
Can't trust them kookaburras. Tales of Bix and her Force-sensitive son, now the apprentice of Ahsoka, having been taken off Rey. That is what we're getting now. Tales of Dedra. Oh, God. No, thank you. The contact at YouTube is probably a bot, or even if it's a person, he copy-pasted an automated response. Watch the video, we talked to a YouTube whistleblower. After that, play DDLC Dumbos. I've already concluded that most of any interaction from anyone from YouTube is a bot now, especially in this day and age. When it says like manual claim on any video, I assume it's still a bot. Unlike the sequel trilogy, Andor is all middle. That's technically true. Congrats on the comic book, Mauler. Have never read a comic before, so it'll be my first. Ooh. Well, hope you enjoy. Found myself constantly quoting General Shepard whenever a rebel following Luthen died. There will be no shortage of volunteers, no shortage of patriots. He needs all the heroes he can get. Rip Lonnie. It was the only ending for that character, like we talked about. That was always going to happen. Always sad, too. Because Lonnie was a good dude, man. He came through. Sad. Oh, say it. Rip Lonnie, the GOAT, unsung hero of the rebellion. Yeah, kinda. Because the main people who knew the most about him to be able to celebrate him would be Luthen and Claire. One of them's dead. The other's a story we're probably not going to see much more of. Unless we're lucky with Filoni, eh?
No, no.
Lucky? Oh, man. There's luck, and then there's...
Yeah, I know,
It's
right?
more likely I'll win the lottery than we get a well-written character from him.
If Tony got his 5 seasons, imagine a Pottergaz episode. Imagine just getting one for everybody, man. Ugh. Oh, it should be so good. Lonnie's only sleeping. He's sleeping, right? As soon as Luthen mentioned Yavin, I knew Lonnie was dead. Yeah, well, when you're watching the scene and he's... Luthen being like, you know, I need all the information you have right now in order to best help you. It's like, oh, jeez. It's like, you've become useless, Lottie. Or rather, only a liability, you know? Hi, EFAP. Would you rather be a clown or a mime?
I'd rather be
Probably a clown.
Probably a clown. You get more freedom as a clown.
I've always just, for some
Yeah,
reason,
I think
assumed that
so.
mimes have more self-respect, and I don't know why that is, but...
I want to be able to talk. So, you know.
Yeah, I gotta talk. Even if it's
Talking is
with a
quite
funny
important.
voice, if I have to do it.
Obi-Wan meets Vader in Kenobi. Yawn. Dedra meets Luthen. Edge of my seat. I know, right? I know. That's just what writing does. Luthen will return in Star Wars Endgame, made by Filoni. Can't rule it out, honestly. Sad fact. Hate when people compare Star Wars with sci-fi. IMO, it's science fantasy. Lord of the Rings in space. If one more person asks if I like Star Wars or Star Trek better, I'm going to lose my mind. Thoughts? Well, to an extent, if someone said, "What do you prefer, Star Trek or Lord of the Rings?" I'm fine with that question. I'd be like, you know, it's a bit, which appeals to you more? Which do you find to be more, you know, overall engaging, I guess. But if you mean it from a sense of they both share the exact same genre and which do you think achieves it better, I think that was already a potentially silly question with something like Star Trek versus Star Wars, because a lot of people say it's like an adventure versus more nuts and bolts sci-fi. Which, but if you want to categorize Star Wars strictly as it's not even sci-fi, it's fantasy in space. Space fantasy, space opera, whatever have you. I mean, I don't mind it being considered sci-fi. There's definitely sci-fi elements that support it and stuff. And if you watch all of Star Trek, there are fantasy elements in that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, loads of science fiction has fantasy elements. It was always like one of the older, I think, debates in science fiction is round about the 60s. It's ceased to be a purely scientific thing in the first place. Isaac Asimov wrote an essay sort of lamenting the fact that around the 60s, a bunch of science fiction writers seemed to think that science almost had no place in science fiction, and they went in for more like fantastical elements. Dune, arguably, is one of the most science fantasy of all science fantasy things that was ever made. But we called it science fiction just because it's a convenient and all-encompassing label. There's lots of space for lots of things in it.
I have loved Andor, and I absolutely also thoroughly enjoyed listening to your good selves. I have discovered stuff I previously missed. Ryan's Star Wars hyper-nerdism is always impressive. You know what? I'm glad you come to that conclusion about all those things. Excellent. Krennic fingered Dedra's head. True. Leave it to Tony to make an Intel compartmentalization failure interesting and the reason why the DS got discovered.
Death Star.
Oh, right, yeah. For a second there, I was like, is that a character name I'm messing up? Or we are told that she broke the rules in Season 1 to get access to the files Blevin declined. We also hear her attitude towards Imperial bureaucracy is that they are in the way. Systems either change or die, sir, she says when Blevin was the problem, actually. I can believe her mindset stayed this way, and she disregarded the rules whenever she could. I love that it bites her in the ass so hard with the Death Star plans, though. Yeah, it's brilliant, honestly. There's a start and end to her.
The only thing about it, and I think this came up at the time, is like there's so much. It's such a pivotal moment to not have on screen. Which it doesn't mean that it's not all absolutely perfectly implied. It's just that it would have been so great to actually see her do this because it is so important to the story.
What could have been for more scenes? Is Andor Season 2 a Serenity Peacekeeper Wars situation or a Battlestar Galactica 1980 situation? I don't understand the Battlestar Galactica reference, but if you're asking if it is a Peacekeeper Wars Serenity where it has to finish off a TV show, the thing is, it depends who you ask about Peacekeeper Wars as to whether or not you think that's a good ending. Serenity, I think, is a fucking fantastic sort of end to Firefly, but obviously leaves room for more. How would I describe Andor Season 2? It's just the story's finished. They completed it. And it syncs up now with Rogue One, who moves into the E, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, we could have had more in the sense that it would be nice to have more. But, I mean, I'd say you're fine. You can watch it Season 1 and 2, and that's the completed story for most of the characters. I suppose you need to watch Rogue One after it if you want to see what happens to Andor. Feel bad for his family. Empire likely killed them. With Lonnie, I mean, maybe. They might have been brought in just to squeeze any information out of them possible. He said he had them somewhere safe briefly, but simultaneously it might be something that's dropped by the Empire as a dead end. So can't really be sure on that. Dedra thinks she knows. She has no idea that Luthen already has her Death Star plans, lol, or how devoted to the cause Luthen really is. Well, she doesn't know that he's, dead, obviously, when she's taken in. Leia gets to him. Why did George write that? Oh, wait, this is... Why did George write that as a quote from you, Fringy? When you said it, but... George wrote a lot of things.
Wait.
He was a visionary.
He did. He did. Yeah.
I wonder how much Luthen's performance played into Dedra's perception of him. If she looked him up, she'd get the idea that he's this sleazy treasure merchant who sells tech to the rebels on the side. Possibly, yeah. Like, that could actually have made her think that he's doing it selfishly or whatever, but the way that he I mean, she'd never met the fake Luthen anyway, I don't think, but she may have known a bit about him. In any case, she clearly fucking hates him just for the fact that he represents, like, the challenge she could never quite defeat, but finally has. The build-up of a rebellion, infection within the galaxy, that sort of stuff. I think that's enough for her to hate him anyway, but yeah, that might have played into it. Maybe that's something that we could also achieve in that theoretical scene Platoon was mentioning. Springy, calm down. Luthen rail me. Get a grip, man. Wow. I mean, yeah, I don't remember him saying that, but if he did, fair enough. Also, Rags, this is one granny you're not allowed to ruin.
Which one? Mon?
I don't know. I don't know which one. Which of the
She's
grannies?
not a grandma. She's not a grandma. Not yet. Right? She's.
Oh, maybe they meant the granny in the hospital.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. She's definitely a granny. She'll be fine. She's just a little woozy. The anesthetic is still wearing off after her what's that? Appendiotomy? Appendectomy?
Appendectomy. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, she's just a little woozy from her alien appendectomy, right?
Glad she made it.
I do too. Yeah, I am too. I'm also glad that she'll be okay.
Sergeant Leia was a real one. Rizbellion. Sure, yeah. I wonder if the work camps have different facilities for aliens as well. Would make sense. Not every alien has human hands that can work human tools. Presumably, yeah. Probably have to have like a universal one, I guess. One thing I like about the knife as opposed to a cyanide tablet is how he steers the conversation with Dedra to where he can go and fetch it. I mean, sure, with the angle of, like, it could be that he had it out the whole time just as a possibility, but like I said, the second you start thinking about Luthen Rail preparing to kill himself, it's gonna be fast, easy, and definitive. That's just how
Yeah.
everyone would assume he would do it.
It's one of those moments where, like, if you are willing to suspend your disbelief for it, then everything around it does work completely. But that's a huge leap to imagine that he would choose that as the means to kill himself. Very ineffective, inefficient, slow, high chance of something going wrong, you being captured, doesn't take anything out with you. It's just not like it's not what Luthen would have done. But everything that comes from it is really good. The hospital scene is great.
I have bombs everywhere. Could have been a final line, yeah. All explodes. Criticism of the hour. You guys keep referring to Arc 1 as some blight on this season. It's not that bad. The only bad parts are the Rebel. The rest are still good.
Who's gonna say it?
I feel like we answered this one when we were doing it, that we never said it was bad. To which I think the response was, well, I never said you said it was bad. Saying something is not that bad implies a statement that was made, which was never made, that it was bad. It's not.
Yeah, I guess then to play the semantics game, all we have to alter to is we never said it was that bad.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you want
So
to do
why are you
that.
putting them words in our mouths?
And secondly,
Oh, thank you.
it's opportunity cost would be the main one. It's
Yeah, of course. You know, okay to good, that's one thing. But if it could have been great like every the rest of the season, that would have been awesome.
yeah, I don't think it compares to the rest of the season in terms of what it adds overall, especially not to the latter 6 episodes. If we could have gotten an extra 3 that, you know, took advantage of all the different things we've been talking about in terms of the most meaningful, like, can you find me a single fucking person who, when talking about the most meaningful things in Andor as a whole, are like focusing on all of the events of Arc 1 of Season 2? It's like, I don't think so. And that's just a result of the fact that it's up against big brothers that are way stronger, and we want more of that. This goes the same for any content that has weaker portions, by the way. Want it to be stronger.
I guess if I see, there are bad bits in Act One that just don't come nothing quite like it exists in any of the other acts. Like the Rebels, I would probably go so far as to say that is a bad bit, just for the amount
Yeah.
of time it takes and how little it's done. Standing around on Chandrila talking about secrets got very irritating. I think that was bad. It doesn't make the overall arc bad. It does make it distinctly mediocre. And yeah, as you say, like the opportunity cost, you could have saved all of that time to get something more of the quality of the rest of the show, which tells you a lot more, which does a huge amount more. I think didn't even Gilroy said like the first act was some of the last stuff to be made. They went back and did a whole bunch of reshoots, and you can tell because it's by far the least tight of everything that's in the show. It feels like something that was added on in a rush at the end, and it's a shame that that's the case, especially because it is the thing that a bunch of people will see for the first time. Like all the people who said, I didn't really get into Andor season 1, but loads of people told me after the fact it was good. Here's my chance. Maybe this time it will earn me back. And then Act 1 happens, and it's the weakest stuff of the entire show. And it's like, well, that's a massive missed opportunity because now we're gonna have to deal with people talking about fucking rape scenes for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, another unfortunate aspect. What happened to Luthen's ship? Tony Gilroy is another person who doesn't care about continuity. Example, how K2 and Cassian originally met. Okay, but to say he doesn't care about continuity because you have one example of him stepping on prior continuity that he had a personal gripe with is not quite the same as comparing to, let's say, people who don't care about continuity like J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson or even Dave Filoni. Because Tony took a surprising amount of care with certain aspects of canon, more so than we've seen in a very, very long time. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have made the same decision as him when it came to K2SO, but I can't fault the man for being angry that his character had its backstory written before he could do it. I could understand why that would be fucking annoying. We definitely need an unbridled praise of this show.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely is the word I said. The one after it is tires.
Definitely tired. I don't know.
In any case, this was our praise of it. 4 episodes of EFAP. Come on.
That's right.
It was praise, even though apparently Arc 1 was stinky poo poo and we just couldn't accept that. Or whatever.
I just wanted to point out that episode 8 was followed by 9, then followed by 10. 2 hours of perfection. Yeah, it was a pretty good fucking streak, let's be honest. The TIE Avenger needed Luthen explaining to Andor that Nemec was right regarding the Empire's fear-based grasp on power, which meant that model will now be buried out of fear / looking weak. I would just reformat it to be stealing a X-wing or something. That's what we were talking about. And also just fix the action scene to be a little less goofy.
Yeah. It could be really neat, and it could show off like how good he's become at this job.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if there was a bit more talky bits where he has to pretend to be the pilot or show off what he knows and stuff of that nature, instead of like you said, a bit of an awkward action scene that's a little difficult to believe fully.
Also, Nemec's manifesto should have shown up more than episode 12. I don't know about that. I think it was.
I'm happy with it being a one-off in both seasons.
I get the value of showing that it's spreading and everything, but I really do think it's impactful to have it, stay in the background of your own mind of what impact it had being read out, to then see that Partagaz is the one that's listening to it. That, I don't know. I really like the way they used it. Nice and sparing. Great counterpoint. Her story arc is to her comment to Andor after the Mothma rescue. Also, it seems no one knew their real relationship. When you say her, presumably they mean it could be Claire. I assume they mean Claire, and that no one knew her and Luthen's real relationship, being that he rescued her and everything. I'm not sure. Luthen is the best Star Wars character, no doubt. I've heard people say it, and I don't blame people for having that perspective. He's very easy to be passionate about that character.
Not going to get into a fight about that one.
What's the most interesting thing Luke ever said? I don't know. It's not necessarily that the words themselves are super interesting, but what they mean in the story, like, I am a Jedi like my father before me, is quite a powerful, heavy line considering the whole story and what's happening in that moment.
Most interesting. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough question. I'd have to refamiliarize myself with a lot of his lines.
There is that, but there's also the point, like, until you get to Return of the Jedi, Luke's role is not to be a wise, all-knowing person who's able to tell the audience anything useful or particularly even interesting about the universe. Like, he is the receiver of this knowledge. He's the novice protagonist from the beginning. He's in training through Empire Strikes Back. He cocks up in Empire Strikes Back. What you learn about his character in that is interesting because, he forgoes this thing that's come to seem so important to him, this Jedi training, because his friends matter more to him. That's a tremendous mistake from a certain point of view. But it's not until Return of the Jedi that Luke is in a position to actually tell anyone anything interesting, because that's everybody else's job around him. It's Obi-Wan's job, for example. So it's not like you're not comparing apples and apples if you're saying, well, Luke isn't interesting because he has nothing interesting to say. It's what he goes through that's interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to ever rate characters based on who's got the best quote. That doesn't seem like it almost misses the point of how certain characters work versus others. Luthen has loads of interesting things to say because he's fucking lived a whole life of crazy, insane shit happening and having to make lots of difficult decisions. It makes sense that he has a lot of things to say. Who else knows is a throwback to when Marva asks Cassian who else knows in season 1 as well. Lots of repeated dialogue throughout. Give parallels.
Yes, about results.
I loved all the comparisons of Luthen with Krennic or Partagaz, like the lines getting reflected in their respective contexts. Melshi is a real bro, no question, just goes. He was a real bro, it's cool. Unfortunate that he got shot and died in Rogue One. How very sad. A2S soon. Supervisor Blevin apology form when? Well, because of Dedra. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's maybe he's on the Death Star right now, Blevin. Nemec, you should kill yourself now. That was the one part of the manifesto that you get to hear from Partagaz's point of view. Bix is human garbage. I will die on this hill. Absolutely gross what she did, and she's a villain in any framing, any other framing or story. This would be regarding not telling Cassian about he's got a kid, I guess.
It is like this came up, didn't it, at the time? It's like a huge how much weight is placed on her conversation with that Force healer, because that is the thing that decides her on this course of action.
Yeah, you can hate her for it, but her perception would be that to distract Andor from the rebellion would be to essentially leave millions to die. That's what she believes she's doing by doing that. But I don't think that's inconsistent with what we see of her. She's expecting to hopefully see him again as well. You'd call Bix immoral in a show you didn't like. I mean, well, I haven't said whether or not I think she's made the moral choice. I mean, I think it's consistent with her character. I don't even like.
We like Darth Vader.
Yeah, this argument's retarded. I like a lot of really evil characters. It's a thing, but you know, as for whether or not her decision itself is moral, it's like, well, from her point of view, she thinks she's doing the moral thing, right? But an outside context, you know, like, what would you do in her position? It's like, well, I mean, you know, the other thing is we don't even know what she knew at the time. It hasn't like been confirmed whether or not she found out while she was on Grain Planet. What's it called? Mina Rao, I think, right? So
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, because it's not said that she. I don't remember it being said that she knows she's pregnant, but obviously when you go back and you see that she is, it's a tricky one because like consequentially she is absolutely right in the sense that if it weren't for what she'd done, Andor would have stayed. If Andor had stayed, he wouldn't have met Jinna. So if he hadn't met Jinna, so he wouldn't have got the Death Star plans to the rebels. If he hadn't got the Death Star plans to the rebels, the Death Star wouldn't have been destroyed, and millions and millions and millions of people would live under a horrible tyranny, getting their planets blown up forever. So in terms of like moral consequence, she made the right decision. Obviously, she can't know that, which is why her conversation with the Force Healer is very important because it's the thing that establishes she has faith in some grander plan. It's the closest she will get to the audience's position of knowledge is when she has a chat with the Force Healer and conveys that she believes in the grander plan and purpose that Andor has been put for. You don't have to agree that that's enough, I suppose. In the moment, it might seem like yeah, it's a tricky one. Like I think if I were in her position, I wouldn't have done it, but that means the galaxy would have died. So you know, I'm technically a dick for doing that.
I think you'd be reasonable, and like I said, I probably would have told him as well, but what she chose to do. I feel like Saw and Luthen dealing with the other rebel factions when I have to agree with shill accounts on Twitter praising Andor. We may align here, but we're not the same at all. Oh, I get you. I mean, the people who like the fucking red lightsabers or whatever saying that Andor is good, you just be like, why do you think it's good? Like,
Yeah.
where is it? What's, what do you, yeah. Rebellions are built on Bellhope. Good reference. John Bellhop. It was so good to hear you all really like a show. I know, right? To be fair, we had Penguin semi-recently where we covered that positively. You know, it was only like half a year ago. It wasn't that long. Mind you, Gilroy went to the wiki instead of consulting the Lucas Story Group. That's fucking hilarious and the right move. Absolutely. You're going to find way more detail and definitive information on a wiki than you would from the people who are currently in charge.
It is funny to think that there might have been a conversation at some point when like he asked a question and someone said, well, you know, you could ask Dave. He said, nah, not going to do that. Internet. I think
we're right, yeah. The whole phone call, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to bother it. And he's like in the room. He's like, no, it's fine. You're like, oh, I got to go. Damn it. Lunchtime. Such a shame that we live to see the total incineration of our favorite IPs, but at least we get to poke fun at the ashes together. Cheers, gents. Cheers. Can we get a K2SO action figure and hit the shield? We should.
Well, an action figure with him using him as a human shield. That'd be funny.
Yes, it would. And
Yeah, that would be funny.
thank y'all. Thank you. Now, we have our extinct animal of the day, which is the Basilosaurus, I believe. I feel like I've seen this in one of the Walking With shows. I recognize the name somewhat as well.
Ah,
Yeah.
he likes to munch on fish, clearly.
The familiar one. Cool looking.
He ain't no krill scooper. No.
No.
He's a fish finder.
And the other animal, a very cool looking parrot species, considered the Dracula parrot, also known as the vulturine parrot. Holy shit, why is there not an animated character that is this creature?
Ooh.
Hey, that's awesome.
That is a
Yeah.
cool looking parrot. Red and black, just saying, you know.
That's
That's
a
super
really
cool.
neat. That's a neat
What's
bird.
he called?
I guess part of the nickname is a Dracula parrot, but vulturine parrot is
Vulture.
Alright.
I can see why they call it that.
But this is just get him in a movie, right? You know, like that's easy cool points. The real animal, go for it. What a cool character that would be. Dracula bird. I like him. And on that note,
it's actually not the bottom. It's all black. It's just been doused in so much blood that the bottom of him is just he just bathes in it. It's still on him.
that is the final message of the 4 arcs of Andor Season 2 coverage for EFAP. I'm glad
Whoa.
we managed to cover the whole thing. It was a wonderful season of TV in total, and it's a sad sort of reality that we're probably not going to see anything like it for a very long, certainly in Star Wars.
Probably.
Um,
Maybe never again, unfortunately. But fingers crossed. You never know, right?
Regardless, thank you all so much for your messages. We appreciate it, and we shall see you in the next one, whatever it
Catch
is.
you later, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, everybody. We will
Bye.
see you later.